And dudettes, friends and family across the plain, welcome to Have No Sphere. We made it. We made it to another week. We've almost made it to these crazy holidays ahead. And my goodness, I don't know about your family, but it's pretty nuts here in my little part of the world. Wow, I'm hearing myself now in my ear, and that's really distracting. So I guess Adam needs to stop sharing his sound.
It's probably happened as I've stopped sharing, Mark. Sorry.
All right. Well, that's fine. Anyway, welcome to the show. As you hear, we are joined by one Mr. Adam Meakin himself. Welcome, Adam. How was your week so far, my buddy?
All good, mate. All good. A little bit busy. It's run up to Christmas, and it's a bit like milk and all those other essentials. Drugs, for some reason, people need to stack up 15 days worth because we're closed for 2.
Yep, I understand. I see it happening here with my significant other. She was doing the very same thing today.
So little bit hectic. Been having fun in the flat earth this week. Been continuing. Last week's chat got me into a bit more biblical stuff. So I got a little bit. I was just sat chilling, enjoying QE's with Bible Literist Paula's presentation. And I think simultaneously me and Nathan were triggered on some of the stuff. Not triggered like angry, but wow, this is really cool info.
Excited, right?
Wanting to get in and so I ended up kind of bumping in the week and having a good chat and a really good chat afterwards. It was really quite cool. So I'm kind of getting into this Bible stuff. Might be just because it's Christmas. I don't know, but it's not. But it's interesting stuff, and it's really interesting. Not being smart arsey, but looking at other people's opinions of how they place this document. It's certainly one of the more interesting points because it's very difficult before you can engage with anyone really. And having a nice conversation, not arguing, something that you're going to actually gain out of it, just instead of just giving your opinion. You kind of need to gauge where people place this book and what veneration they give it. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. Actually, and I think it'll probably go a bit further. Me poking around this. But,
well, definitely. We had a great show last week with Travis. Shout out there in chat, as well as everybody else. I don't want to start naming names. I shouldn't have done that. Love you guys. We are going to get to you guys a bit later. We have some other things planned first, but at some point we're going to drop Zoom links out into the people's areas and chats and rooms that we all share so that you guys can pop on, kind of like we did last year for the holidays, and say, hey, and whatever your message to the world at this time of peace and love and harmony would be. So we'll get that going a little bit later. But speaking of things we have ahead, our Queen of the Moon, Cami Nodell, has some things planned for this evening. How are you, Cami? I should have started with you ladies first. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm a Southern gentleman and I blew that, didn't I?
I can be a lady.
None of that on this show.
Okay, I'll leave it. XY.
Oh, happy holidays, everyone. This is your dudette, Cami. And no, I like being in the middle. It's more fun that way. It really is. But yeah, been a rough week this week. I got sick along with my son again. We don't seem to, with winter coming in, we can't seem to shake it, but I'm starting to feel a lot better now. I missed our show Wednesday getting ready to go over things. And so, oops, phone call. Looking forward to catching up and seeing. Sorry about that. Oops. I will have to text back. Sorry about the interaction on it, but yeah, we're gonna jump over. But yeah, it's been a crazy week. Not enough time, so much to do, so much to see, so much to learn, and I'm looking forward to going over the moon more today. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it back on you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I do have a question. Do you sleep with central air at night in your room, blowing in the room with you?
I do. There's central
air. I know where you
in.
guys are. It's really cold, so you probably almost have to.
We do. We have central air, and then I have a ceiling fan circulating. But yeah, there's always an air conditioner or a heater going. I mean, it doesn't I like the mid months, but right now it's a little bit cold to be without, and in
Yeah,
summer
well,
it
my
gets a little bit too
mom
hot.
talked us into going without central air finally one year, her being a respiratory therapist. And truly, ever since then, I'll huddle under an electric blanket and have my room sealed off with no heat at night. And it takes a lot to get me sick now. It really does. Something about the drying out lets all that crap get in a lot easier, and it's not able to be caught up by your natural mucuses. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
But it's true. It's definitely, I'm generally so healthy in the summer, and I do not like the winter at all.
No,
At
not my
all.
favorite. Not my favorite. Well, we have with us as well your partner in crime. You've now abducted him. He's no longer allowed out and about. Zachary Too Nice for Rice Zabala, Magneto Zavala, new name we added this morning on Ironworks. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing good, Walt. Can't seem to wake back up today. It's been a rough one trying to get back just out of it from this morning. It was a fun show this morning. And yeah, I had trouble falling back asleep, and then I fell asleep late, and then I got up late, and then it was just, yeah, threw the whole day off. But I'm good. Played with some magnets, of course, today again. And yesterday, and with the gyroscope. Gosh, there's so much I don't understand. And I got a little, Bob has a DC power supply that goes, you can control the volts from like 1 to, I think it's 20, which is perfect for my little Tesla coil because it only goes up to 12 volts. But I can sit there and play with it and measure stuff on it. And yeah, I'm having fun. It's always fun.
So Cammy didn't actually keep you there. You just don't want to leave. Be honest. Be honest.
There's some more toys here still I want to play with. We got to get with the refractometer, and there's a few things that I still want to.
We have not even really began to touch it, and even with the magnets, so many things we want to do. He's right. This has been a sleepy house today. Not only him not waking up, but me too. I'm feeling better, but we are definitely in some type of a heavy sleep mode. I
Have you checked the
woke up to drive time with Robin or lifting the lid this morning, which is supposed to be an afternoon show. And for us, it's like we missed breakfast. We're going straight to brunch. Have we checked the what, Walt?
all the the charts with the different magnet, all the things you showed me to check when I'm feeling blurred?
I did check all of that, and our magnetic field has been all over the place. Again, I tried not to go everywhere with everybody all of the time, but I think it is factoring into it, and it has been going crazy.
Well, they say it's on the move, headed to Siberia, the North Pole magnet. Anyway, let's move on and say hey to a magnetic man, if there ever was one. One Rob Freddie, the man from down across over somewhere over there.
Yeah,
What's up, Rob?
Well, good morning, everyone. Obviously, I don't come on here very often, but should be a good show this morning. I'll say this morning because this morning for me. So it should be a good show. I'm excited to listen to David from the Church of Flat Earth. He should have some good info. Be really, really good. Yeah.
You're going to convert, Rob?
Never.
Hey, Rob, I'm glad you're here because I was just really beginning to take it personally and thinking that you just don't like me. So thank you for showing up today.
Get him.
I don't.
He doesn't like anybody, Cammy.
It's not
That's
you.
the reality.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get motivated these days. I don't want to bring anyone down. Yeah, it's just hard for me to get motivated talking about the flat Earth these days. I need something new. I used to love those wow moments, and I think I've said that before. I love the wow moments, and we used to get them one a week at least when we first started.
You're just not hanging out with Cammy on the show enough, dude. Every week she's on here. There's a wow moment.
My life changed. My life has changed in the last year or so. And I'm trying to get back to normality again. But
Cammy, I'd look at it the other way, mate. Right? He's buggered off for months. Nay, almost a year until you arrived. It's only you that's brought him back. So I wouldn't look at it that way. I'd think you've You've magnetized him back
That's
into
it.
the
The
realm.
magnets at
Yeah.
work.
Oh, that's like a gift. Happy holidays. I am looking so forward today to interacting with people in the chat with any questions and answers and things.
So
Again,
Cammy, you've
thank you
got
guys
to wow me. I
I
tell you.
would
Today
love to
is
wow
the
you. I
day.
have all kinds of things that we could wow you with. I thought we would, start a little bit slow, but yeah, I would love to wow you. I can't think of anything I'd rather do.
Oh, that sounds good.
A gentleman left who brings the word wow to mind. If anyone does, Sir Savage himself. John, how are you?
Savage!
Hello, Walt. Hello, guys.
No
Yeah.
soundboard.
I was trying my best to make up for
You
it.
did it.
Sorry
You did
there,
it.
Rob.
You did it.
That was all right. That was pretty good.
Well, I think Zach's better. Zach, you're much better. Do it.
Savage.
This
There we
is.
go. A bit of a delay, but it was there.
Yeah, hectic
Savage!
week for me.
Oh!
Wanker!
A lit entry.
Wake you guys up.
Well, I believe we have been joined by our guest. If I am correct, that would be Dave Gordon. Welcome, David. How are you, my friend? Welcome to Have No Sphere.
Hey, David.
Other than breaking everybody's ears, I'm doing good. I've still yet to successfully switch from the computer show to the phone show at the right proper time. But we're getting better every day. But hey, I'm honored to be here. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Oh,
It's
welcome,
so nice
David.
to
Nice
have
to
you.
have you.
Are you on a speakerphone or what is your headset, David?
Let me go to the headset. It'll be better yet. Stand by for 1 second. See if that works
That's
better.
absolutely fine. You go right ahead, sir. If anyone understands trying to fumble in our way to a show, it's us. So welcome and go ahead and get your sound
Okay.
straight.
Is that a little better?
Much better.
Oh, much better.
Loads better.
Much better, David.
Okay,
I'm a
good.
big fan of
Yeah, I
David.
think you're
He's my
listening to my
neighbor.
laundry in the background. Well, hey, again, thanks for having me so much. I don't know if you've developed any kind of an intro to what we're up to here, but maybe I can just jump in on what I'm doing, or we can start with your thoughts. What do we got?
Well,
It's just-
absolutely. Why don't you give us an idea of what's going on and everyone else? Because recently I jumped in and signed up and sent some information your way, and I'm waiting for the next step. So let's see what that's going to be all about.
Well, I'll start at the very beginning just to make sure all the listeners are onto it. So myself and my associate, Angel Shackleton, have officially formed the Church of the Flat Earth here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And again, note churchoftheflatearth.com will get you there. As the executive director, and I'm self-appointed at this point, that's how things start. I am very, very gratified to be leading a team to establish constitutional protections for flat earthers who see the world as a created realm. That is the essence of what we are as a church. The only spiritual requirement is that we all see this as a created world. That's it. It is non-denominational. We've been getting a little bit of flack about, I don't know if we're forming a hierarchy or if I'm thinking I'm, playing Jesus or whatever. Just all the silly troll stuff has come out, which I'm like, I've never had trolls before, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, so it's a little shocking for a lot of folks. Some of the earlier responses were, oh, now we don't want to make Flat Earth a church. And that's like a vague statement, but that was the point. To make the Flat Earth community or the movement in any way, what shape soever a church is absolutely not the idea. What we are is establishing a beachhead for legality. I am so sorry, I did not get into the show till just late there and missed the prior gentleman's name, but exactly what he is talking about is what we are talking about. Under the Constitution, no establishment of religion can have any laws made about it or its operations. No taxes. speaking of which, we are not a 501c tax-deductible organization. That does limit your free speech and especially political discourse. So my job is to provide an administrative structure for this. It is an organized, unincorporated, self-supported ministry. And so, yeah, we're like totally short on blood red baby skin shoes and billions of dollars. We're not a kind of organization that's going to take over and influence anyone. In fact, you could hear about it today and never think about it again, and yet we would still have established that legal definition under the Constitution that we are an establishment of religion. Then we are under Civil Rights Act of 1964, established that no one can be discriminated based on sex or age. Well, they added age later, but sex, religion, and all the things we're used to, creed, color, obviously. So now we believe that having just established a church, and I think we have, going on 40 members already, so that adds strength to our standpoint. But yeah, so it started, it's officially, well, it's so funny, you know what? There's nobody to officially prove it to. We prove it to ourselves. We will have on the website, and again, the website is churchoftheflatearth.com. We'll have all the founding documents and a lot more explanation to what we're up to very soon.
David,
But
could I
that's
just interject there
okay.
just
Yeah.
for a second, my friend?
Go ahead. I'm getting tired of
hi.
talking. Jump in.
Good
Hi.
evening. First of all, this is Adam speaking.
Hey, how you doing?
How you
All
doing, bro? As you mentioned, the website, I'm just saying I've pulled the website up and you're probably not able to see it because you're on the phone, but I'm screen sharing it. So if there's anything you want to, I'm just at the top page with the Azimuthal, and the observed world is the foundation of our spiritual quest. So if you want to guide me anywhere on there, just say so, and I'll pull that up so that the listeners can see it, mate.
Well, you might. Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. You might just scroll down a little bit in italics. You'll see the First Amendment. And interestingly, this is the first sentence of the First Amendment. It's actually the second one, too. And do you have that up there? I don't have it in front of me.
That's ready for you to go, mate.
Yeah,
It's
we're
on
looking
screen.
at it.
Yeah, why don't you read through that? It's really interesting.
Zach, you're in charge tonight. You got to read.
All righty. First Amendment, U.S. Constitution, religion and expression. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And then it has a semicolon. Or
yeah, it goes on to speech and the assembly and the others there, of course.
Yeah, press but religion was the basis.
It is. And now the philosophical claim that I and perhaps others make is that to study the world, and we know it to be a created place, we know that the scientism, I don't know, it's like the entire structure of scientism is largely a fraud. So therefore, the other side of the coin, then, well, it must be creation and a created place. That must be true. And that is the fundamental touchstone of this church. Now, it speaks to religion. There's not a lot of religion behind it, but we are an establishment of religion. So, if you scroll down
it's
a
the
little
right
more,
to believe. Religion is your right
really
to
is.
have a belief. They can't tell you what to believe.
So that means we're actually a nonprofit, but it's not tax deductible. We won't make profit. In fact, we will be totally transparent. Every dollar that comes in will be posted on the website. Every dollar that goes out, we'll have a mission statement, some more of our goals in mind. Angel and I have been talking about some new innovative things. Basically, there's two levels. Initially, we'll have, well, hey, let's not go there yet. I don't want to talk about that just yet. Let's scroll, if you would scroll down a little bit more, and you see the Civil Rights Act of 1964 mentioned on the homepage of the website.
There you go, Zach. You got it, bro.
All right. It says also the Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlines specific infractions of discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. They later added age. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act 1964, Equal Employment Opportunity. Discrimination because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Section 703A. It shall be an unlawful employment practice for an employer to, number one, fail or refuse to hire or discharge any individual or otherwise to discriminate against any individual with respect to his compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Or part two, to limit, segregate, or classify his employees in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affects his status as an employee because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin.
So there we have it. Having established ourselves as a religion under the Constitution, and we establish ourselves. There's no overvailing authority, just like the Constitution says. Angel and I signed a document and we put it in our file. Obviously, substantiating the movement, or the church rather, with more members and eventually a congregation. Congregation will be more established members. In fact, they may actually pay $5 a month or something, or maybe more, whatever they figure. That raises money for the operations. It raises money to preserve the website, but it also helps us in that my primary next move, other than get some more information onto the website, is to get in touch with some different civil rights attorneys. And that reminds me, we do want to be a repository for all the stories of people that we have. Pastor Nate Wolf was fired for truth. He is fired for truth. He was fired from his church. This won't happen if we have this figured out right, because we are a religion and we are being discriminated against. It should make anyone, whether a member or not, they don't even have to know us, but the organizations which, just like, the prior gentleman again was talking about restriction on Facebook and perhaps Google and others, that becomes a big no-no. I mean, it'd be like restricting Jews because they're Jews. This is our spiritual quest.
David, before we get into that, because I know so many of us are aching to start this debate, because it's a genius idea with complications and consequences. But maybe before we do, is there maybe a bit more of an outline? Just go through the webpage, just to give listeners the opportunity if they've not, because as I'm a little heavy. I know Zach and Cammy are a lot more versed in the direction and the detail of what you want to do. But maybe if you could is there somewhere else I could go to maybe just finish the explanation, and then we could get into some of this quite chewy stuff.
Well, if you go to the upper paragraphs, that really does start to say, maybe I'll read a little bit, because this is really what we're about. Here's the thing. The foundation, the basics is this. The observed world is the foundation of our spiritual quest. Now that says, in any endeavor in which we want to go film something or do a telescope, horizontal telescope shot, or whatever it might be, something with a P900, that's our thing. That's not our sacrament, but you understand, it's what we do. Monks do whatever they do. This is what we do. All right, let me read here. As increasing harassment is being invested upon those who understand the earth to be flat, it is increment for the leadership of this community to consider appropriate preparedness. We must declare to understand that the earth is not a planet, generally flat and demonstrably unmoving, is an elemental aspect of our spiritual experience. It is the foundation of each our own personal religion. Whether an endless plane or a realm within a dome is unclear, but the earth is not a flying speck of insignificant dust flailing through an endless cosmos. We do not live in the invented, phantasmagorical, imaginary universe of space. Human evolution from slime to monkey to man is an absurd notion and without proof. These are anti-God concepts imposed upon common minds by the fraud of scientism. Rather, the world is as it seems to our perceptions, calm, safe, in a preferred position and overseen by a benevolent God. Therefore, that we exist in itself is a demonstration that God loves us and we are all special aspects of creation. We therefore declare that this comprehension of a flat, stationary earth is a tenet to our personal religion and a foundational concept defining our relationship to creation. So that's in a nutshell again. But yeah, so that's kind of our philosophical standpoint, which makes us, if you will, an establishment of religion. Again, no one has to join to enjoy the benefits of this structure. And we'll be looking more into, actually looking into pursuing some of the lawsuits for the people who have been fired, because this is retroactive. Someone can say,
I've actually thought that I might have copped that treatment when I was made redundant, because the week before I was made redundant, I had a little discussion with my boss, and he was bagging Flat Earth, and I sort of defended it a little bit, and he looked at me really, really angry, and it started sort of going off. And I never ever said I was a flat earther or anything, but people at my work knew I was.
You just gonna say,
and I was made redundant. But I've always in the back of my mind just thought is that, but yeah, I've got no case. You know, someone like me would have no case there, because no one ever mentioned that I was, you know, you're being let go because you believe in flat Earth. That was never ever mentioned at all. But it's always been that might have been a small little reason. You know what I mean? It was very, very coincidental that it was a week later, maybe a week and a half later, that that happened. Yeah.
And, and what country was that in? I'm sorry, I can't fully.
Yeah, Australia. That was the other question I was going to ask. You've got the American constitutional amendments there.
Okay.
I'm assuming that England and Australia would be very, very similar in wording.
I would hope to think so. Exactly. You know, that's another bit of research maybe someone can do. We've got our work cut out, but
that's an interesting point, David.
European Union
is the state where this is currently relevant for, because this is, as you say, under I assume constitutional rights in the States. So any of this conversation isn't impactful on me, John, or Rob in any direct way, other than maybe setting a precedent of how this can manipulate.
Do you guys have freedom of religion over there?
Yeah. We would, and I'm sure the wording on it would be very, very similar, very, very similar to
I would say probably more extreme over here, because we're not allowed to carry guns or knives or anything, but under freedom of religion, a Sikh is allowed to carry under his religious expression of freedom. I think it's one of the K's to carry a dagger, which isn't necessarily permitted otherwise. I wouldn't want to get into Rastafarianism and the likes, but I think the carrying of a dagger, which ordinarily isn't permitted, it's interesting that would be overreaching the freedom of religious expression. To carry the dagger is overreaching the regulations that sit underneath it.
Well, there certainly are some restrictions against discrimination based on religion in the European Union, or how it would work, whether it's in the United Kingdom or whatnot. There's got to be. I just don't know them.
All of these things tend to be overreaching, as I said. They tend to sit over and above. They're almost like a natural law. In these sorts of cases, it's not the natural law that's being defined, freedom of religion. It's just asking for acceptance in the law for your religion to be recognized, is the way I would look at it. Once you get to that point, then the rest follows. And as we said, most of these overreach lots of the acts of law that sit underneath them. So they do tend to have a significant amount of power. And I just want to say it'd be fantastic in the States if Brian Mullen can go back and kick scumbag
Yeah,
George Nuttinnock in the nuts.
Yeah. Bob Nodell was fired by a Colorado, it's in the Denver metro area, fired, I think it's City of Lyon, small town, for talking about flat Earth. They thought it disqualified him as a engineer. Brian Mullins actually was pursued, I think, a little bit by the Society of Engineers, whatever it's called. And they can't do that anymore. You know, there's a little debate about this. Obviously, some of the finer legal points will get hashed out in the next while. But if somebody harasses you because you're a flat earther, it will now be considered hate speech. And again, there's some other considerations there, and I know there's some very strong hate speech legislation in, or whatever they call it over there, in the European Union and so forth, worldwide. So this kind of changes everything.
Now, looking at the different laws, it could get complicated with some of the red show on the business laws, because you would have to prove that they fired you for your belief in flat Earth. And the thing that you do get into small businesses and businesses in the United States is that they have the right to fire at will. They could not do it based on religious reasons, but how do you prove that after the fact? Or, you know, that would be an interesting go backwards in court, because of the fact that how would they feel they were breaking the law if it wasn't a religion when they did it, and it is now? Do you understand my question? When you're allowed, pardon, because at the time if it wasn't listed as a religion, how could you go back when they're allowed to fire at will? And at the time that they did it, it wasn't listed as a religion. How does that work retroactive?
Because we have a spiritual quest. It's been better identified. And yes, this is who I am. And you people, let's just say, fired me because I believed in this. And now we understand, you know, I think he could have made this claim even then. I mean, you can.
No, because it's definitely in small business. Unless it's a protected reason, it is you don't even have to have a reason. You can fire at will in most states. I know you can in Colorado. Where I think that the ruling, I think, would be very helpful in the future, though it wouldn't necessarily stop people from getting fired. They would, you know, people can look for another reason to fire you that isn't a protected right, which can just be, I don't like that person. There's
of course.
nothing.
It's litigation. It's kind of a war.
Yeah, it's good, and it's good to have it. Where I do think it's really, really important, though, David, and where I think the most good is doing is like in the courts with where you have child custody and parents, where it would be used as a reason to say that you're crazy and you could lose custody of a child. Now, to me, in cases like this is invaluable. This is completely invaluable. I think it's nice in the employment realm, and it's a wishful thinking in the employment realm, and in some corporate structures that are big enough, you might be able to, you know, build it up as we get bigger. But I don't think the impact there is as important personally as it does in things that, again, personal rights, where they would use it to either say that you were crazy because of this belief and you lost your job directly, not just indirectly, but a very direct over it. Like the case where somebody was trying, you know, where they wanted to commit them to a mental institute or have them get help, and somebody did lose their job over this with them thinking they're crazy. I mean, I think that's a line it could be, you know, and should be used in.
Well, yeah, where was that airline pilot from?
The Netherlands or Holland,
somewhere
in there.
But they made her see a psychiatrist and all kinds. She was grounded because she said that she thought the earth was flat.
So I think in the most strict cases of it, it's going to be very, very, very helpful. But a lot of the times, I think people could in law just scrounge around it and, fire you because they don't like you, and and the fact that they don't like you is your beliefs. But again, it would be hard to track it in there.
Well, there's a lot to be figured out. That's a big one, though, for me, is the challenge of people who are homeschooling, and they're under enough pressure already. But if they happen to be honest, say their authorities, such as they might be, school review board or whatever it might be, I don't know how that works. They say, okay, so what are you teaching the children? And they say, well, here's our Flat Earth workbook that we got from the Church of the Flat Earth, which brings to mind that's another thing we hope to do, is present some curriculum for children of different ages. But they say, well, you're insane. We're taking your kids. Not anymore.
Well, I know across the pond there on the side with our buddy Adam and John, we have a person we could maybe consult on that topic. Ranty probably knows a lot about this. Not a lot, but may know more about the law side of this than some of us here. I don't know anyone on the state's side, though, that we might be able to hop in on the show to really get into.
I'll have them next
job and
guarantee I'll have an attorney by next week, pretty much.
There you go. That'd be awesome, man. Bring him back on if he'd be willing to come on the show. That would be amazing.
I know. They got to be ready for it. They may not be able to say their name or disguise their voice.
Right. We have to blur his face, disguise his voice, whatever. Right.
Yeah. Well, the only thing better than being a famous attorney is being an infamous attorney. And but you know what? That brings to mind, there is no bad publicity if you or your organization is telling the truth. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, eventually it comes around, and it might hurt your feelings or it might be uncomfortable at first, but look how many people hear about it. And out of those, we pull another swath of people who are intelligent, interested, brave, and honest. So no bad publicity, whatever, for the movement.
Yeah, the publicity, again, bringing attention one way or the other. I'm reading from the chat, and we have people having bad feelings about this. Again, if you connect it with government and religion, there's good reasons that we have bad feelings about it, but good feelings about it too. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, in my opinion, because again, it's a dangerous ground we're laying on right now. If looking and observing and having opinions on the realm that we live on can really get you where you can have your children taken away or put in a mental institution or referred to a psychiatrist over it. I think that we do need to draw some lines, but we need to be very, very careful how we draw them.
Cami, there's a reason why I remain anonymous despite everything, and it's because of my children. David, good evening. It's John Savage here.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering. I was wanting to ask, because of recent events, website security is quite a hot topic, and I was wondering what sort of precautions you had in place to safeguard the members of the Church of the Flat Earth. In terms of cyber safety, of keeping their information, because it's a perfect opportunity. Anyone cynical enough to think it can see this as a gathering of information on flat earthers. Do you see what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. There's others. All of the different Facebook sites and so forth. They do have some level of exposure. I specifically put the website with GoDaddy.com, the biggest one I could find, because if they allow that, if their security is that weak, I mean, I'm no webmaster and I'm certainly not an online security expert. So, it all kind of falls in their court. If we are exposed, and whoever did this exposure, again, we're looking at hate speech, we're looking at crimes against a religious establishment.
Yeah.
If we so choose. So that's all we have. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, there's a bit of a time lapse here. I think that's why we're sort of over talking each other sometimes. But would you be open to someone testing the site for security protection and giving you a report as to what could be done and what couldn't be done, or what needs to be changed? Or because a lot of these big, like GoDaddy and that sort of thing, a lot of them by default are not necessarily security minded, for the reason of being able, the ease of being able to start a website. But I do know that it would be a concern of quite a few flat earthers now who've used another app that was out there designed to sort of bring flat earthers together, that wasn't particularly secure.
Yes. Hey, there's nothing I can do about it. I think part of it is now taking this new, working under the auspices of a recognized, an establishment of religion, that we just jump out and say who we are. And again, I can't speak to overseas, but in the U.S., we are fully protected against harassment based on our religion. And this, if you choose, is that.
Well, interesting that you say that. I mean, because I do know that in the UK there was a woman in Glastonbury who went walking and fell down a small cliff and broke a leg, and she was quite a prominent flat earther, and they took her children away from her because of her flat earth beliefs. So yeah, you're lucky enough to have a little bit of paper that's called a constitution. We in the UK at least have, well, we don't have a single piece of paper called a constitution. We have several bits of medieval law we can point to that generally get scoffed at, but I think you're in quite a unique position over there of having it written in black and white, or black and tan, a constitution. So
Yes,
what I'm saying is, people in the UK, maybe such as myself, I've chosen to remain anonymous until such a time that the children that I have control over, custody of, cannot be taken away from me, because it sure as hell has happened in the UK, and for exactly that reason.
You know, I think on that end, now that we've got an establishment here, and it's a worldwide religion, if you will. Again, most of us are sort of shell-shocked by the term religion, but we understand what we're talking about now. It's a spiritual perspective, if you will. You're going to have to find a crusader barrister, I believe they're called, who will stand for this. And not have to, but this is what we'll look at. Let me have another week here, and I'll look into the overseas ramifications as well. But we will be. I actually have a very close friend. I haven't seen him for years, but he was in the ACLU, which is not always the people we refer to for information, but he actually pled the case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court to guarantee us, to reassert the right that we have to not carry an identification as we walk the streets. It's not illegal in America to walk around without your ID.
Hell yeah.
Very crucial case if you think about it. So,
but a lot of people don't know that, do they?
Yeah. It's not illegal as an EU citizen to walk around Rome. The same, but shit happens.
I had a mate that was denied entry to a pub last week because his license had expired. So his license had his name, address, but the date on the expiration date on the license had lapsed.
Wow.
So they didn't let him into the pub. They didn't let him into the
pub. Was it a
pub.
license to drink or drive? Right.
It's a driver's license.
That's what I'm
His
saying.
driver's license.
Doesn't matter if it's expired. It means I can't drive, not drink.
So
Australia has never.
Yeah.
Australia has never not been a slave colony. I'm sorry to say that. I know you're there, and you know it. They're kicking you in the balls every day of the week.
Stop it, John. Stop it.
You're man enough to be able
John,
to take
I've
it.
got to take exception to that because
Well, we are
I
too.
looked at no, only 20% of Australians have convict heritage. The rest, I think, are either immigrants or
I didn't say they were
majority-
convicts. I said
the
they were
majority are
slaves.
basically stolen children from the rest of the
Well,
world.
there you go. There you go.
Here
I
we
mean,
go again.
There you go. You see, that's where you were populated from, nicking kids.
well,
Like the Pied Piper of countries.
if you take that to further and say that a bunch of children had been stolen, exported to Australia and brought up, there would have been no parents to ever tell them, you know, you're a human being, you have these rights, you have this, that, and the other. You know, there was no adult figure to educate them on any of this. But anyway, we're digressing on that front. Can I ask you, David? I've got two comments on Twitter over the last couple of weeks when I put out Zach's video about the Church of the Flat Earth.
Yes, go ahead.
One was, and I know this is from quite a religious person. He says, actually, he does describe the Church of the Flat Earth as a religion and under the protection of the US Constitution thereof. Actually, I'm not sure what relevance that is. He says his use of the name God and what he says about God sure sounds like it has some basis in the biblical God. What would you say to that?
Well, they have a different name for it, but the Muslims, Allah is God. And so I don't know exactly. I don't fully understand the Buddhist thing. I don't know if they have a God thing. I think they're just more about life, or that's a godness. And hey, maybe the text needs adjustment. I mean, we're that new. I wrote that. It didn't exist before. So, maybe it says creator there instead. But
David,
that does be the standpoint. Forgive me.
I've got a question that's totally like
Yeah.
John's, which is not unsimilar. And we delivered it. It was had a slightly different vein. My question was to you, is the church open to those of only a Christian origin?
No.
Or
No,
is it open
please.
to Muslims,
Not-
Buddhists, etc.? Or no religion? You know.
No religion's fine too. Anything. We don't go there. We don't deal with the creator. We only look at creation. We say, as a group, the fundamentals of our religion, the fundamental standpoint of our religion, and then to respect that God, whichever religion you are in. You do that on your own time. The church is just about, we believe we live in a created world, not a pseudo-scientific one. And that's it. That's as far as the church.
Can I ask for distinguishment there then, please? By that definition, are you implying that within the Church of the Flat Earth, and look, many of us, all of it, myself included, have said that Flat Earth has brought us to the realization, along with quantum mechanics and molecular biology, that a creator has to exist. Is that maybe a founding precedent that maybe is it just that it's flat, or is it that actually this is a creation? It isn't a random event, which we can't go any further back because then it gets a bit tricky because it's still created. Excuse my sarcasm.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yes, exactly. Specifically what you just said. We only say that there's a creator. Now, the Flat Earth showed us that, and we reserve the right to investigate it as we see fit. But that is the foundation of this. Let's call it a sect. That would be accurate. Or a creed. This is the basis. Just that it is a created world. And yes, we're not believing in the Flat Earth, but the Flat Earth has taught us all this. It takes this blockade of scientism out of your relationship to God.
You've used the term scientism a couple of times now, and I like it. Because for me,
there's a religion.
Yeah, well, scientism is exactly that. It is a religion, but for me, science is something that needs to be embraced and re-recognized, particularly its founding principles. I don't know whether, for me, it was a little, it's very well, for those that are a bit quantum eraser and Oakley-ified, we understand those terms quite well. For me, as I read that, I don't think necessarily that jumped out in this statement as to actually define that more definitively for the non-initiated, whether that's Flat Earth or the Church of Flat Earth, you know. But I do think it's a really good principle that you're grasping by, and to recognize that actually a lot of the narrative that the world believes is pseudoscience and has no foundation in real scientific method.
Yes. And we reserve the right to pursue the scientific method in real terms and not be harassed, because it is kind of the foundation of our spiritual quest. Now, this is a new concept, and interesting to see how it really flies court-wise. It's going to need some strong people behind it. Basically, next I'm looking for civil rights attorneys that want to be famous. Again.
I think it's a fantastic concept, David. I have to admit, I've been pushing the whole idea of this becoming something that goes through the courts for a long time now. I think it's an awesome idea, and I love the idea of, what was it, renegade barristers or something? I could do with one of them at the moment, but
yeah, I assume there's some barristers that pursue, I don't know what they call it even in Great Britain, but civil rights in a sense.
What have you got planned? What's coming up then? Because what are you planning to launch a court case yourself, or test this in some way?
Yes. In fact,
fantastic.
we find the right case and the right attorney and the right situation. They need to do it on contingency, which is typical for personal injury or typically things like this. That's how they work. Their lawyer makes money off the recovery. And so we're looking at,
Gotcha.
Reinstatement, fines, punitive damages, the whole meal.
So I've got quite a few American lawyers following me on Twitter. So what are you after?
One with a specialty in civil rights, especially being fired for your religion from a job anywhere.
Okay. Have you been in touch with Balls Out Physics? Sorry, someone help me out.
Balls Out Physics.
Brian Mullen.
Brian Mullen, thank you, Adam.
Brian Mullen, yeah, thank you. No, I'm not. And we're just getting our ducks in a row, not quite ready to reach out yet. Again, I want to speak with my ACLU guy and some other attorneys. I've had like a funny relationship to the legal world. I used to work for some really high-powered lawyers doing video ads and so forth, but we talked about everything, and I developed a kind of at least a sense of what is appropriate and what is right under our Constitution and so forth. And again, it needs to be borne out. Hey, maybe the attorney will say, there's no way in hell, we can't take that anywhere. But then you find another one who disagrees with that. And we just keep looking.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned Bob Nodell earlier and him losing a contract. Yeah. We've got Cami Nodell on the panel.
Yes, I do. I read his voice just a moment ago.
Right.
Cami, hello.
So
what
David,
can you tell us about Bob? What can you tell us more about Bob's situation? I've never really, talked too much with him about it, and we can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's all right. David Gordon, for those that don't know, is one of the Colorado people who I know very well and goes to the meetups, and so we've gotten to be good friends over the years. Bob's situation, the one that they're talking about, is because of the Behind the Curve movie. Bob owns a small computer business, and we have different professional clients, different lawyers, different like towns, businesses, just a mishmash of, again, small small businesses is what we work with and specialize with. And one of our clients has been a client of Bob's from when we started the company. Bob was their tech even like on another company before they went out of business, and they kept Bob. And we've worked with them all these years for about 20 years. And after Behind the Curve came out, he had a phone call, and it was like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to like end our contract or end our business. It's nothing that like he did or did that. They said that they got it from higher up and that they just didn't have any choice in the matter. And so we believe what happened is after the movie, they named some of our customers, which, by the way, on Behind the Curve, that was supposed to be a part of the interview anyway. That was not, that they assured us was personal information, and they were just gathering it, would not be used in the movie, but they did use it. And I believe that Trolls basically contacted these different people and put pressure on them. But it was something that, again, these people were happy with our work, loved us for over 20 years, and even let us know that they were really sorry about it, but they had it from higher up in the government, and they had no choice in the matter.
I think they're going to rethink that real soon. It's just not acceptable. I mean, when you actually go back to the premise that this is our spiritual quest. Maybe we didn't fully have it identified, but this is what we do, and it's changed our perspective to our creator and so on and so forth. And I just think the right attorney can make a splendid argument. And again, no bad publicity.
It's also so very confusing for me because of the fact that you think of different hate groups and different, craziness and, again, who you wouldn't want working for you at your business, be it drug addicts or different things that they do. But looking and thinking that, believing that your world is created and just of a slightly different shape, and that it's a very benign, it's not it's a beautiful, beautiful religion, I guess, if we're going to put it that way, what we believe. I'm seeing beauty in things I've never seen beauty in before. And it's such a beautiful, again, as you call it, religion, but what I don't understand the harm in it and why people are so hostile and triggered, other than, again, if it's pretty much programmed into you, if you really think about how silly it is that people are hostile over these beliefs, and would fire somebody or want to take away their children for believing this. It's frightening. It's confusing. It's not we're not getting together and cutting up babies or doing any type of harm to ourselves or to others. It's a only beauty in it. I don't understand, again, why we are persecuted on it. It's quite confusing.
Cami, I reckon that 99% of people that are exposed to flat earth to someone who then cast those aspersions that you've just outlined onto flat earthers couldn't actually tell you why they react like that. It's something subconscious. It's because from an early age, this cognitive dissonance, the suppression of reality, the bending of reality to fit their paradigm begins at such an early age. It's in program. I don't want to liken it to kind of MK Ultra kind of stuff, but realistically, this is what it is. And when you are first exposed to this reality, that's why you have this strange gut reaction of rejection to it that you can't explain. It's why people are vile and opposing it, because something inside of them reacts with a nonsensical response to what at worst has been highlighted tonight is a religious belief. And I do want to get onto that, but at worst it's that.
Well, I very much concur with it being MK Ultra. Literally, since at least the first classroom, and before that, television, cartoons, Flintstones cartoons growing up. I mean, I remember those shows. It is MK Ultra. We have been mind fucked with this since birth, and that's why it's that, like you say, gut reaction that people can't explain. don't even understand they're having it. And when you try to point them to some information about cognitive dissonance or things like that, it's almost like fuel on the fire. It definitely doesn't, rarely does it help the situation.
I think a big part of it is their worldview. And if you say, hey, your third grade teacher lied to you about that globe thing, here's the thing, yeah, on many levels in many ways, but I was the kid who said, the water's going to fall off, teacher. And they said, oh, no, you're very silly and stupid. There's gravity. And then create this whole mythology thereafter. So
Yes.
all those other kids who saw me get humiliated are like, never. I mean, they're young. They see public humiliation. And that is actually probably one of the strongest influences on our behavior. I mean, getting thrown in jail. your
Most
friends
kids,
know about it
most
second
kids
class.
don't even like. Most kids don't even like putting their hands up in the first place. They learn
Oh,
when
yeah.
they do. When they get ridiculed, they'll never put their hand up ever again.
Yeah, and the other kids watch. And I've spoken with guys, a couple different guys who were that kid, and their lives were different than they might have been otherwise. I mean, it starts with the Santa Claus thing. I'm sorry, it doesn't seem silly to say that, but not only is the kid lied to by his parents, but they're bribed. And also, don't tell your little brother about Santa Claus being mom and dad, because
Right, getting them in
the
on
kid's
it.
like the connection. He's not going to get any presents. So we're talking lying for return is taught at a very young age.
Mm.
It's weird. That's who we are,
Yeah.
though. Your youthful experiences, that humiliation with the globe in third grade. You saw the other kid get humiliated. I don't suppose that kid would ever raise his hand again. Who knows how it went down, but I'm just saying in theory. But these
Some
are
of
the
us did.
things that guide us. It's who we are.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. I was that kid.
Absolutely. I was as well, John. I think that's why we all have adhered here on the realm, that we all were those kids asking those questions. My mom luckily backed me up. I can't tell you the number of times she came up to the school with the teacher or the principal going, okay, he wants to know the answer. That's what he's here for, is education. You want this X or Y, then he needs to know why it's X or Y. And yeah, so fortunate in that. But definitely I went home that day and asked my mom, okay, how's that water? And the people upside down and all that, for sure.
And that's MK Ultra. MK Ultra, the essence of it is, the bottom line is making you believe in things that aren't true. And once they have us all doing that, then we're all controlled and we're watching football and thinking the world's great. And the kids are stuck in foreign wars. And, people have very liberal ideas about, destroying life when it comes to a human baby. But, these are people that would, on the other hand, say had never heard a fly or use a mouse trap to kill a mouse. So there is a massive cognitive dissonance factor. We live in an MK Ultra world, in a sea of lies. And this is my effort to break through it.
So David, where do you see this in? I mean, Flat Earth is growing exponentially. Where do you see? I think what you've done is got off your ass and done something brilliant, which needs to be supported. Caveat with the security thing prior, but where do you see this going? Like in a year's time, 5 years, 10 years time? It's going to be some sort of tool that you can really fall back on and rely on, or as we're seeing with the vaccine exemption stuff, that used to be a religious exemption clause that you could use, and that's being trampled on left, right, and centre. Where do you see this going?
Well, it's very hard to say. I would like to understand where it's going next week right now. But a couple things. We have the idea of having a congregation, and those are something beyond members. They are involved with the church on a higher level. We have programs. I've got 3 different business. I'm also David Gordon, the Rocket Man, if any of you forgot that or
We
didn't
didn't, and I
know.
was definitely planning on getting to that with you, David. I actually put the link for your
Fantastic.
Facebook page with the rocket stove there already in the links. I mean, in the description there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, bless your heart. Oh, by the way, the Rocket website is down right now because I'm moving it to GoDaddy because it's cheaper, $17 a month for a full commercial site. So that's pretty good. So yeah, where's it going to go? So we're just going to do what we can to build things.
Hold on. The
really-
Rocket Stove
Go ahead.
site. Let us know what the Rocket Stove site is for those who are listening in the future.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Screw the Church of
Unfortunately-
Flat Earth rocket stoves, because frankly,
Hey,
Zach showed me these, mate. They're
Shit
freaking
rocks,
awesome.
man. Yes,
They're
they look
so
amazing.
cool.
they're
It's
quality.
proper.
I've been
Yeah, you-
making rocket stoves
Yeah.
for years. So yeah,
We
give
were
us.
already flat earthers, David. Yeah, but that rocket stove was awesome.
What's the URL, David?
It's offline right now. It's GordonRocketCompany.com, and I'm about 4 days away from it being up on the web again. You
Excellent.
can go to YouTube and either search for my page as David Gordon, or you can see a video about it on YouTube. So let's see.
Brilliant.
Well,
Well, Zach's been doing it, so you can probably talk on this
yeah,
a bit later.
and you know, I can't share the link just now, but
And I don't want
Yeah,
to
Gordon
interrupt
Rock-
you. You were answering
worry,
a question
don't worry.
before I did.
no problem. We'll get back. So Gordon Rocket Company will bring up the video. And so what it is a rocket stove. Ironically, it's one of the few rockets that actually work on Earth. And that's a joke, but it's true. So yeah, it uses wood very, very efficiently on the level of 5 to 7 or 8 times more efficiently. Rocket stoves burn the carbon monoxide out of the wood. In other words, no smoke comes out of the top of this thing. It's absolutely phenomenal. Zach has seen one work, and they're great for cooking on. Cami too. I had one out down in Dallas, and I have a patent on it, so nobody can actually get anywhere near my design. And I'm one of the few patents, a utility patent that is, that the very functionality is patented. Basically, it's an L-shaped tube where the lower part of the wood goes in and burns. And because of the vertical part of the L, the air is pulled up like any chimney, same principle, heat rises, and it pulls the air in. More air goes in. They're called rocket stoves because they actually kind of roar. And interestingly, if you look down in the top of mine, you see these fire tornadoes in there roaring away. Well, when things spin, some weird dynamics take over. There's vortexes and even potentially plasma physics involved. More air is being pulled in at the least, and that extra oxygen combines with the CO and converts it to CO2 and burns it. So it vaporizes wood. You get a little bit of ash, no smoke. In fact, you can put your head face over the top of this thing and not even smell the wood burning. So it's absolutely the ultimate prepper device. It's great for barbecues and camping out. Everything coming off of it tastes like smoked bacon. So yeah, and that's the thing.
Mate, I've got 2 questions because when I watched it, it's freaking awesome. Like you said, the economy output, because if you're taking carbon monoxide and recombusting that, I assume that's just because of the temperature and the flow rate that you're oxygenating it and sufficient heat that you're getting that. The extra heat you're getting from that, I cannot. You can get all the greenies saying how cool it is as well, but it's just that's the first question is wicked, which isn't really a question, and the second question is, well, how can you get one in the UK or Italy? Because I want one in Italy so that I can have it there instead of a barbecue mix. It's just.
I'll make you one, Adam.
Well, I've thought
There you
you
go.
said. See, you said patent, but plans would do.
I've made several of these actually, and that thing you were saying about the vortex of the flame coming out the top. What I did was cut a load of pleats around the top and bent them into so they were like a sort of propeller shape, So when the fire came up, it actually span it, and there was like a proper cone on the top. This thing was like a Bunsen burner. It was mental.
Sure, that's great. I think what it is in my case is just that L-shaped turn that they're fuel, air, fire. You got to look at fire as a fluid. In fact, it's the best way to understand it. Going around that 90-degree turn, it causes a spin. That's my impeller or propeller, whatever it is, causing that spin to start. And then, greenhouse gases. Well, the real application for this thing is in the third world, where people are cooking on open flames, open fires. Like half the world's population cooks on fire every day with, wood sources and so forth. This burns very efficiently in itself. Let's say an order of 5 times more efficient. Well, we're cooking on 3 levels, so 5 times 3 is 15. So they are putting out 15 times less CO2 and no other pollutants. So
plant killer, starving the plants of their nutrients. We need plants.
Well, well, there's that. But the thing is, the people in the third world country, the poor women and children spend a lot of time looking for firewood. Now it's 15 times less. They can apply themselves to other things. You could set up a little bakery, so working with NGOs or legitimate actual people who do things to help people out is a big push. And that's a whole nother story as far as the dynamics of that. I had to take a step back for a year on it, and I was looking for investors and so forth. But now, that's a whole new thing. And that's of the 3 companies that we have to support the church, this is one of them. So 10% of all sales go to the church.
David, could I bring it back to that actually, just for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Because we've done a lot of love it in. I think I certainly speak for myself. When I first heard the concept, I don't think, and I was as open to the idea initially, and maybe I'll say why. And whilst from listening to you, I realised why my opinion doesn't matter, because you can do what you want; it doesn't affect me. My initial problem was with the concept of church, religion, because it's kind of one of the things I rejected. And certainly when I met up with these guys, a zetetic approach, a proof, not necessarily scientific, but a substantial proof-based approach to my view of the world was really important. And from that zetetic kind of person inside me, the term religion, faith, and more importantly, with its inscription in law that it is it's a faith, kind of offended my sensibilities, for want of a better word, in terms of my gut reaction to this concept. And I don't think I'm alone there. And I didn't know if you wanted to maybe address that.
I think that's the big one. Well, we're all been bitten by the religion idea and the vast hierarchies. Again, we do not have red baby skin shoes or $1 billion. We do not have any, sorry. What we are is an administration to allow this. There is no dogma. There's no dogmatic hierarchy, no requirements. You don't have to agree with what we think. There's just no oppressive church. All the mistakes that churches make, we're not making. And I guarantee you it's not run by pedophiles.
Yeah, that's...
Now that would be an ecumenical matter.
That's a big one for sure. But I agree on the zetetic side you raised, Adam, and I was just wondering if you could use the status of the church to enable unfettered exploration of, say, the North Pole and the South Pole. It's your religious right to go anywhere on earth. You know, it's
Like
your
it's
religious right to travel. Who are you to say we can't go to certain areas, and keep it zetetic so that you can actually go there and go, yeah, it's flat.
Yeah, that's part of our I guess I'll call them bylaws just for the moment. It's actually more corporate, not corporate, but structure. We'll have a board of directors, for instance. I'm the executive director, Angel is the managing director. We're bringing on a board of directors that will be able to fire us in 1 year. The congregation will be able to vote in the board of directors. So that is the administrative structure I bring, nothing else.
I suggest you make Adam Meakin an executive director, and
I was just about to suggest that maybe for next year that John could be possibly put forward for Pope of the United Kingdom, or at least Cardinal of the Church of Flat Earth for the UK. On a serious note on that, in terms of you're starting this out, genuinely, how do you see it growing as an organisation, and how, you know, is it going to be that church structure where there is a head church somewhere, or is it that freedom of that it's just a liberal denomination where you identify? How do you, if it does take off and people do identify with it, how do you see its control, regulation? I hope you get my gist.
All up to us. It is a community effort. That's been a big thing for us. Again, we're establishing a structure from which we can be fired in a year if we fail to do things right. We have and we're pro tem 1 year. The board of directors, we have several folks interested, and we haven't put it out just yet because we want to clarify a few things, but they're all leaders in the community, presenters. You know, you could look at the presenters at the 2019 FEIC in Dallas and pretty much guess who we're looking for as our board of directors. Now, it won't take them a lot of time. Maybe they'll be less dedicated to it after a year, whatever. But hopefully in that time, we can go to congregation. And again, they're a little more officially involved. And then they get to vote. And they also get to work with our product distribution lines. We're a little bit Amway too, just when I thought I couldn't get myself in more trouble. Not multi-level, but there's, you know, churches sell cookies, we sell rocket stoves. and I'm not sure I should say just yet, but we have a breakthrough product that Angel's been working on that we can set anybody up anywhere in America to be a distributor for, and actually pays pretty well.
Nice.
You could build a real nice small business. So I don't want to release that just yet.
Cottage industry.
That's where I keep going.
Sorry, cottage industry, as they call it over here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
They get a box full of product and they take it over to the supermarkets or, you know, food stores, whatever. But yeah, we'll release that idea probably in the next week. Now, so here's a big thing. Our grand opening, for lack of a better term, I don't know what you call it when it comes to church, but that's going to be January 1st. All the stuff we're talking about now, it's back and forth. You're getting ideas. We got 30, 40 members now. We got the opportunity to speak with you people here on this show, which is just amazing, and thank you so much. But yeah, I can't answer where it's going to go, and I'm usually the visionary. That's kind of what I do.
I'll tell you what, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
As we were just saying, we were thinking about having call-ins. So I don't know if anyone in the background who can do that is official, starting that can do that. Then that would be cool. I haven't finished yet.
I was going to say good shout, John, because a good point to mingle if we can get those in, and as Cammy can get herself ready.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
I switched over between shows. I switched over the audio headset and everything.
Sound much better now.
You sound very nice.
I want to really quickly interrupt and just say I've been reading through the chat, and one of the comments in there from, let's see, where we're flat enough. Flat Earth is not a religion. On there, I looked, just reading it there, I did go to religion and definitions, and while the first definition is the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or god, there is another definition of it that says a pursuit of interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. So I would think
Wow.
that we would meet the definition of religion under a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance.
Nice.
So I don't know, are we really not in a religion if you can look at that definition of religion instead of the superhuman controlling power? Because I
That's
don't
brilliant.
think.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, Cammy.
Excuse me, ayahuasca is a religion in America, in Santa Fe per se. Ayahuasca, Church of Ayahuasca.
Hey, Jedi is a religion in the UK. I remember
There you
because
go.
I put it on the
There's all
census.
kinds of crazy ones. And yes, they are respected on certain levels. They're allowed to have their ayahuasca sacrament. So I don't think there's any question of that. It's just so weird and different. And yes, flat Earth is not a religion. It's a study. However, in my case and many others, it becomes something that exposes the idea that we live on a created world and sets us on a whole new path of investigating that.
Well, it seems that religion is synonymous with belief. So what if we believe in the Zetetic method, or we are believers in the scientific method, or something along those lines?
Those are mentioned in a document I'll release in the next little while here, sort of the bylaws. That's still the wrong word. It's kind of the outline of what we think, and I would include those items.
And just a general scattergraph question: what advantages are there for people who join the Church of the Flat Earth?
Well, beyond being a member, let's say we actually do form a congregation, ability to vote, have an influence in church directions, the ability to initiate a directive. They want to do this. Maybe we do come together with some funding. We can, maybe it could be an experiment. We can support anyone in any way, anytime we want. So that's kind of an advantage. I think it helps the church more than they're already helped. We've established this beachhead in terms of legality and recognition. But again, we have our product program, so we'll be able to raise funds and people will be able to make a living pretty easily, working out of home, making a few phone calls, kind of a sales distribution thing.
How
really cool product.
How many flat earthers do you think there are in the States at the moment? Because there have been polls and all that sort of thing where there's sort of 3 to 5 million. I mean, that's just the States. I mean, most of the Eastern world should by rights be flat earthers. And a lot of them are, and even some areas and countries in South America teach flat earth as the curriculum. But I mean, literally you could be the funneling point of 1 billion people, let's say, on the size of Catholicism or Hinduism or something. Are you ready for that?
I personally am. I don't care. I mean, that's a strange thing to say. It's just a pursuit. It's just getting the work done. However many people, that'd be brilliant, be wonderful. But I don't think they'll get there for a while. But you're right. I mean,
I don't know.
It's like an approach to the whole untapped, and then folks won't fear coming out.
It's a snowball, and there's no stopping it, to be perfectly honest. But people like me who are quite skeptical and about releasing their details online and who they are, what they are, or whatever, something like this is a sort of, what do they call it, the armor of God. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean, and I'm gonna go back to the chat again because Vlad who he's doing some really good comments, and he says even if you argue, even even if you argue that I seek my spirituality through experiencing the objective world, do you think this will make the cut? I again, I think it's not a matter of making the cut. I think that we can find religion in a couple of different ways, and they're interlocking in a way that, to me, the interlocking is seeing the truth actually opens me up more to religion and spirituality as opposed to scientism. And with the conflicting, I mean, I think it takes away a lot of the conflicts between the two that have been put into place just to cause these mental struggles. So I think that they're connected, but do I think that that right there is enough spirituality to make the cut? No, it's not enough spirituality. I think it's enough that um, again can flip people over in rational thinking and make sense of their spirituality and understand it better. So it's intertwining. You have Chocolate saying, I know had a good comment on it. Where were you? It was I think probably it's just flat earth is not a religion. I lost it or whatever on doing it. But again, on the is the fact that the earth is flat supremely important to you, and does it touch and affect, it trickles through into your spiritual religion with your, it intermixes your spiritual and your realistic religion, your scientism, it meshes the two.
Tammy, can I?
What?
I think
Please.
you had that quote, and I think we should just end this section on the quote that you pulled up, because I think it's a really good way to finish it. Because would you restate the two quotes, the standard and then the alternative
I will. I'm
definition
bringing
you
it
pulled up? Yeah, and then we'll
back
move
up
on
and
to a bit of Mooney.
perfect. And actually, we may want to do a little bit more stuff before Moon, but we'll look at that religion. And all I did was, why doing that is like, I do this a lot now, words that I'm sure that I know the meaning of. When they're challenged, I've been relooking up and rethinking everything, a healthy way to be. So just pulling up
Very
dictionary
healthy.
Religion, I'm seeing noun. One, it's the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Okay, so that's one definition. Another definition can be a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. I would say that the flat earth is going to be a pursuit of interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. But I believe understanding the flat earth can really unlock a lot of your spirituality and understanding to the belief and worship of a superhuman. So it's a different aspect of religion.
Well, someone mentioned just recently about, does it matter whether it's flat or not? No, it doesn't matter at all. But knowing that it is means that everything you've been told from the day you were born is a lie, and that all these bullshit conspiracy theories that you shy away from because it's conspiracy theory is not. It's not the makings of madmen. It shows that if you live on a flat plane, motionless, it shows that the last 400 years of what you've been taught is bullshit, basically. And that is the key part. It doesn't matter if it's a triangle or a banana, although of course it isn't. It's a flat plane. But it's the knowledge of knowing that is it crumbles everything else. It's the sandstone under everything
Exactly,
else.
the linchpin, exactly, and it makes it to where you really can look at your true spirituality because it takes away the laws. You couldn't have said it better, John. So, and that makes it of prime importance.
Yeah, which
Yeah, as far as,
means it fits into the definition that you were talking about, the second definition of religion. Sorry, David.
Oh, no, not at all. Who's going to argue against this? I mean, as you start to walk through these things, you might, I'm sure, hey, lots of trolls will. But in court, somebody can say, oh, no, your approach to the Creator is all wrong. So therefore, that isn't a religion. Your spiritual quest is invalid.
Yeah. No
Who's
one's
gonna
going to
say
take.
that?
No one's going to take that to court. Trolls will fall by the wayside by the dozen. You know, they're all mouth and no trousers, and no, yeah, no one's going. The fact that you even flash this in front of a court, you just put the paperwork in front of it. Shit's going to change. You know.
Yes, sir. I do believe exactly that. So that's maybe we can talk again. I really appreciate the opportunity, but as things develop, again, it's almost a day-to-day thing. And just check in on the website. Join if you dare. And then we'll talk more about the future developments that will actually help us all out in terms of being able to support our endeavors. And all of our, it's actually a kind of a funny thing. It's a nonprofit in the sense that we'll never take a profit out of it. There will be some profit made. I wouldn't call it profit. There will be more income than outflow. And anything that's outflow, it's going to support Flat Earth artists, researchers, and presenters, and maybe a Flat Earth America tour, Flat America tour. We hope to sponsor, as the church, meetups all across the country. Again, no hierarchical religion influence. Again, we have to understand the word religion in this case means our spiritual quest, not a big ass hierarchy. Sorry.
I'll tell you what, David, as the potential overseer of I would say billion plus members, each giving their tithings and everything, would there be a wage that you would think is obscene that you wouldn't ever take more than?
With the approval of the board, I would say I need a salary, so I don't have to paint houses to support the church. So yeah, literally. I mean, hey, I got to tell you guys this: we're living cheap. I've got a trailer and a truck to pull it. We're in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We're in a barnyard, and it's a nice barnyard. There's other trailers and such here, but our neighbors are goats, a couple ducks, and a turkey. And literally, we are 30 feet from a manger. So here we are in the Christmas season and unleashing a spiritual quest and starting just where Jesus did.
You got some nice neighbours there, by the sounds of it.
I prefer them.
We've got a couple of ducks and a turkey in here too. Hey, I might have missed it earlier on. I did have to duck off, but how many members have you had joined up already?
Yeah, in like 5 days, we've got 40 people.
I'm one of them.
And it's not even been announced other than Zach started it off. Is Zach with us? I haven't heard him.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. All
You're
right.
quite low, though, Zach. Suddenly, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, Zach, you're
I'm
the
on
guy
the
who made
same
this
mic
happen.
and everything.
You thought.
Yeah, I'm a member. I joined that very first day that I saw it.
And
You
then
remember
after
number one?
Zach told me about it, I think Wednesday, and I popped over there and I hopped on. So I'm
I
Walt.
absolutely
By the
won't.
way, Walt, Flat Earth Head. Glad to meet you, David. I guess we didn't do proper introductions for everybody.
I'm the cynical one, and I run a mile from all this shit, and I won't even consider being a member until I see the thumbs up from Jeren with an E, Nodal.
Yeah. Hey, all good. Whatever is right for you. Again, it is such a radical notion. It's never existed before. That's why as I write out the different ideas for it, I'm searching for words, concepts, and approaches.
Don't get me wrong, though, David. I want to be a member. I'd love to do it. I'm just super paranoid about my identity going out there, and these things just sort of.
John.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, here's the thing. You still have the benefits thereof. You don't have to be a member. Nobody has to join anything. If somebody wants to support more, and they can, they maybe become congregation, but you have all the benefits of this, such as they may accrue to your country. They say
Yeah.
it's an international.
Can
religion,
you
but
explain
don't
that a
join
little
them.
more about how this holds protection for everyone, just about on everyone, every human, basically? Is that right? Whether
It
you're a
does.
member or
Hey,
not.
what? Yeah. Well,
When you
it's
fill
just
out an
because.
employment, sorry, when you fill out an employment agreement, do you tick a box for religion? You do, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
No,
And
Just
not in America.
No,
It
there cannot be a
participates not
religious
as.
question. There are no religious questions on American
no,
applications.
I'm
No,
just
they
trying to.
cannot be on
Really,
there.
It'll be
Yeah,
optional.
okay.
It'll be optional. There'll
yeah,
be
Yeah.
there'll
I
be a
filled
little
them out
thing
where
with
there was an
a
option
bracket saying optional, and most
or
people will
do not
go, "Oh
prefer.
bloody hell! I don't want to tell you this,
Oh, if
but
you
tick
have a
tick tick."
good, yeah, if you have a good human resource person here, again, anybody filtering through the applications, it's a sticky wicket to even have that question on, and it's stripped from most professional applications
They've
now.
they've cunningly removed it, Cami, in the UK, but not in a direct sense, but by multiplying the ethnicity boxes, which therefore gives you a bloody good. If you're of Asian Pakistani origin, you're most likely to be Muslim. You know, they can classify if you're of Asian Indian origin, you're most likely to be Hindu. So they've multiplied the ethnicity choices, which gives them just as good a overview without having to directly ask with
Same
regards to
thing here.
religion. Yeah.
And of course,
Same thing, yeah.
nowadays you can't do anything unless you give them your phone number, which you might as well give them your DNA. But that also, filling
They
out the
got
court
that at
forms
birth.
online today, that is also optional. So you can just skip that bit, but they don't make it particularly obvious.
Now, David Gordon, I think that you've missed, or either you've misunderstood or I've misunderstood some of the security questions. So I'd like to clarify them up for us a little bit. I think where John Savage and where Rob are really concerned is are you keeping a list of names that are members, or is there a place to join completely confidentially where you would be again, not visible, or where somebody would, in other words, are your members a public list right now, or
No,
how does,
they are not. But I would suggest they be. I don't. Again, I say we go ahead on full on charge on this, and we establish a precedent here in America. We get some test cases done. We um, send out a red warning flag that says, do not harass us.
okay,
And so I'm very direct that way. Now, excuse me, security wise, can't really answer that. It's only what GoDaddy has for their membership sign up on their websites. Now, again, I went with a big dog because they have to be very constitutionally careful.
I think that's a good way to go. And I think that was the other question, the security is the other website that people were talking about and the lack of security on it had to do with the fact that as an administrator of the site, or that when you brought up somebody's name, it brought up their password on your screen. Whereas usually passwords come through encoded and encrypted where nobody on the user, or, nobody even on the admin end looks at it. In other words, that's people's private information that they use to access your site, not something that you would display on your screen, because people typically use the same password for many things.
It was
And so
clear
having
text. It was
so
clear.
having people's passwords out and available in clear text, one, is dangerous, and two, why would any administrator why would you, as a, when you're looking through in your members, why would you need to know their passwords? Why would that be a bit of information you would program to put up and display in clear text on the page? So that was a separate security issue than the type of, so you have two different things going. You're going like, is there basic security? Now going through GoDaddy, they're going to keep it encrypted, and there's not going to be somebody that's showing up on theirs. They're going to have an automatic, you're right, they're going to keep that confidential. I agree with you on there. You have the other aspect um, that I think is going to affect John and Rob, that this right now, why it's building, it's really not for people like you to become members, unless you're ready to take on the battle and be protected, unless you want to like come out saying, hey, I'm ready to come out. Now if the lawsuit hits, I would think that's way further along that you guys just from the background without signing up. But if you're at a place right now where you could risk losing your children or risk, and you're not already out, like I'm out in my full name, but these people are not, I wouldn't recommend coming out. I think you're anonymous for the most noble reason of all, John.
We're the silent majority, basically, is that, we're not scared to fight. We're not silly enough, or we don't want to come out with our faces and our addresses and that sort of things because we have assets to lose, i.e. our children. It's really a case of, I think you've got 1 billion people at your door that if they were told, maybe the registration was run via blockchain or something. I don't even know enough about blockchain to even recommend it, but something along those lines that is absolutely anonymous, that is done on a sort of blockchain ID basis. I don't know. I see we've been joined by someone far more knowledgeable.
We have indeed. We have indeed, John. Thank you so much for hopping in here, Bob. We're glad to have you, everybody. Bob Nodell from Globebusters. Cami, are you familiar with Bob Nodell? Have you heard of their work?
I've heard of his work occasionally. He's I try to follow him sometimes. He's kind of a smart guy.
Yeah, that guy's a shill, man. I wouldn't listen to him.
I didn't want to say that because his wife's here, but
Hey Bob, how you doing?
Pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I really, when David first approached me with this, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago at a Flat Earth meetup, and then I actually brought it up on, one of the journalism chats. But my first initial reaction was, this is crazy. That can't be a good thing in any way, shape, or form. But then I started thinking about it, and it's like, it would bring a lot of protections under the First Amendment. For example, I think Cami told you guys earlier about how I had a job with the town of Lyman, which is a small town and municipality here in Colorado. And after Behind the Curve came out, they literally fired me, because I was a flat earther. And it wasn't their idea, but it kind of came down from the top. And so this now, if I wanted to go back on them, and I'm not sure of all the legalities, but I do know that because the First Amendment offers all these protections under religious freedom and stuff like that. I mean, they told me straight up that this is one of the reasons why I was fired. Well, that seems to me now, if I actually belong to a Church of the Flat Earth, a so-called religious organization, even though I don't see it necessarily as religious, it is still my belief system, and I have every right to have that belief system and not be discriminated against for it, right? So in that particular paradigm, it gives me recourse that I can actually go back and, maybe get some relief on this. The other thing that I think is going to be a huge benefit is, as we all know, YouTube has openly, straight up said, that Flat Earth is disinformation. They're going to censor us. They're going to stop recommending it. Well, to me, that sounds a whole lot, again, like so-called religious discrimination. It may be, and again, if you're classifying it under this paradigm, then there is recourse for it. And, it's one of the rare opportunities, in my opinion, that there is to use the system against itself.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, when I look at it that way, the more I think about it, the more I think, this may not be a bad idea. So
I think once you've got that initial case, and it's a bit like with the Zen Garcia stuff, once you've actually got that legal precedent, then a lot of doors open. Are you guys familiar with Ali G? British comedian?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
So once you've got first case, then you can get everybody like rocking up going, is it because I is flat? And that is the reality. Once you've got that precedent, actually, some of the prejudice we've already seen, and particularly, reflectively, it then puts it into the snowflake community. It puts it into that area where you are an oppressed minority in, sadly, what is the way the world is run right now. If you can be identified, categorized as a minority, then you suddenly have a shitload more powers. You can't obviously identify as a white male. That would give you no empowerment whatsoever. But, actually, once you can fit yourself in a box within the law, it does empower you. And irrespective of what I discussed in terms of any moral obligation, you're not asking me to morally oblige, David, to anything within your church. But actually, the formation of your church, what it does do is, if for whatever reason I was incumbent upon by other people because of my beliefs, and it turned out, like in the case of some of the stuff that Bob suffered, that actually appeared to be in the form of the prejudice, in the form of our beliefs on the shape of the earth, then your actions in the formation of this, and once it's recognized, would then actually give you legal discourse. So outside of me initially thinking you're speaking for me, which I've quite clearly see you're not, and I wish you all the best in this, and if I can do anything to help, I'm here, mate. I think it's a really good thing.
Test case in the UK. Find us the guy that will stand up, that doesn't have a lot of family or responsibilities, that has been fired.
I'm not anonymous, unlike Mr. Savage there. I am Adam Meakin. And, a bit like Bob stood up with his name, it does have implications.
Yeah, take his children, not mine.
Actually, take them. Take them for the next few weeks.
Are they going to take it from both of us, or what? Who gets them? I mean, yeah, we take them now. I'm a flat earther.
Is there a list? I mean, where do we sign up, please?
But
I think it's a potentially awesome idea, and I think you need to realize the awesomeness of it, and plan for that, because things like online security, if you're asking people to register or not, it's an important thing. If you can build a database that is secure and jurisdictionally independent, then you really can put flat earthers together. You don't know at this point whether you live next to a flat earther. They could be a neighbor, or there could be 20 in your town. But if there's any possibility of your details getting out there, to some of us, that's a big frickin' deal. And at the moment, I just look on the outskirts.
How about we hear from Zach, because he actually signed up and he went through all the stuff to sign up. So was there any problems?
No, it's real easy. Put in your email address, name, phone number.
And just the email address is enough. Some folks have only put that. If there's a security, there is no online security. They know what we all are. They know what your voice is.
Yeah.
This is all recorded. So I say, just take the bull by the horns and let's just go for it. Now, again, hey, you have special concerns with the children. Let's find somebody. Is it Nathan Roberts or somebody? Some radical that will stand up. And I don't know. I believe there are test case systems in Great Britain. And in other words, it's the first case, and then it goes. Chances are, whoever works this, it's going to start out in a local court, and it's going to be appealed. Which, again, no bad publicity, because we're telling the truth.
So, Bob, are you going to join up?
I already have. I did it the other night because, like I said, when I started thinking about the potential benefits of it, And then I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, what exactly could be a detraction? What are the reasons for me to join it? And I honestly couldn't think of one. You know,
Yeah, he was mad at Jaron at the time, and he wanted me to get custody, so there was no conflict there.
Now we've just, guys. Oh, she's just gone. Actually,
I
Karen
think we
Karen B
scared
just
away,
joined us.
right?
Karen B,
Which-
come back.
Which I thought, Cammy, and you'll maybe want to chime in on this as Karen joins us again.
Well,
Question for
Yay!
you, David.
She rang him
Indeed.
in.
What the
Karen
Church of
just
Flat
joined.
Earth? How does it sit with
Karen-
female bishops?
Are you asking me or Karen B?
Yeah, I'm only pissing around, but yeah.
I'd ask her. No, she just joined. She's our latest member. Thanks for joining, Karen. Awesome.
Welcome,
Sister
Karen.
Karen, welcome.
Sister Karen.
I vote Karen for high priestess.
Oh, I like that title.
Screw the bishop.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, you can call yourself whatever you want, because other than the quest for learning the nature of our earth and appreciating that it's very likely, and in fact 90% likely, whatever, it has a created world. That's it. Pursue the rest of it to your heart's content, however you find your creator. So
Could I suggest the phrase 100% to the best of our scientific knowledge, it has a creator? And I think you would find that very hard to disprove scientifically. You'd only find proof, and like I said, in molecular biology, quantum mechanics. I think that's a bold enough and true enough statement to make.
Could I also
totally agree, Adam,
add?
totally.
Could I also add that our creator may not be a nice guy? It might be the white-coated weirdo in the chemistry lab with a petri dish, and we are Earth 4.5. I don't know. I see a
Well, we better
disconnect
respect that guy
between.
too.
Yeah, but then there's the creator's creator, so that's infinitum. That's kind of a regression, isn't it?
I just see a disconnect between we are created, our God loves us. That's the only disconnect I see. He may not. He may think we're assholes and start chemtrailing us and all sorts of shit.
Who, us? Us assholes? Oh, John. Speak for yourself.
Well, let's get Karen's take on it. She had a few days to mull this over. What are your thoughts, Karen?
Well, I'll tell you my opinion on it. As far as the legal protection part of it, that's my main motivation, because I'm someone who's going through a divorce from someone who was abusive, a narcissist, and is a globe believer. Although he told me at one time he believed that the Earth was flat, because I used to show him everything, and but anyway, that's another story. But anyways, he was abusive, physically and emotionally abusive, and he assaulted me to the point where he put me in the hospital, and I had to go through surgery and spend 2 days in the hospital to have my arm repaired. Okay, so this is a violent person. I then had to go to court later on, and his only thing that he had against me was flat Earth. Okay, I had never done anything else wrong. I had never mistreated my children. I always was really good to my children. I take excellent care of my children. I cook every meal. I mean, I do everything. That I was a stay-at-home mom. I am a stay-at-home mom. I do my life is to take care of my children and my family. Okay, and so his only thing that he had against me, this narcissist son of a bitch who assaulted me on a regular basis, his only thing that he had against me to use in court was that I think the Earth is flat.
He said that in court.
In court, and they were able to keep me on the stand. I was on the stand longer than him.
Wow.
Okay, I was on the stand for 3 hours.
I remember that day, Karen. I remember talking to you. I've been friends with Karen for a long time. She's the most amazing person I know. She is our warrior mother and is fighting for everybody's rights. But she was like, they just keep on throwing and requestion, can they take my kids to wait for me saying this. I mean, she had to wait for a decision and live through this and worried after being grilled on the stand for hours and hours and hours. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
So anything that is going to help, I mean, and I know I've talked to a lot of flat earthers who've gone through similar things. I've talked to people who did lose their children or who can't get custody of their children because they say that the earth is flat, you know, or they get sent to mental hospitals because of it. So anything that can offer us any sort of legal protection, even though, you know, it is sort of playing in the matrix and sort of playing by their rules in a sense, it is. But I mean, realistically, that's the world that we're living in. This is what we have to deal with. And if
Yeah,
this
Karen,
is,
I don't see it as necessarily playing by their rules. I see it more as using their system against them.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And
That's what I
Wait,
mean.
hold on, guys.
That's a better way of saying it.
This is the Constitution. These are the laws the framers put into effect that respect our God-given rights. The rest of it is, you know, crazy legalities, unlawful laws.
I wouldn't put it like that, mate. I would, David. It's thanks to Cammy's definition that I've changed my viewpoint, because I really did have an opposition to signing up to a definition of my point one's definition of religion. But with what Cammy states, I'm more than happy to ascribe my journey as a religion, if that's grammatically correct or defined correctly. Yeah, I've got no issue with it being of the ultimate importance to me. Doesn't define me totally, but I'm happy with that aspect of it being an ultimate part of my definition, is to define this as putting me in the category of a religion. And if that then, because I'm happy to accept that, then affords me the protection under law that we're talking about, then I'd say I've moved my position slightly this evening. So
all I want is the Jaren seal of approval, Jaren with an E, on the site.
Maybe if we make him Pope.
Yeah, that's
No,
okay.
he's
Hey, I
talking
got him.
about Jaron Nodell.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
That
I got Jaron to convert to gravity. I think I can get him to convert to this.
I just want,
No, I'm talking nodal. Okay, let me call it the nodal seal of approval.
I just
There you
think that
go.
it's important that we have some layer of protection because there are people in this world who think that you thinking the earth is flat could possibly be more detrimental to your children than someone who physically assaults people.
And they're prepared to pay.
And that's insanity. That is insane.
that
to me.
Yeah, that's pretty
information.
fucking insane, Karen. I have to say, and I am so sorry that you have to go through that. I just can't imagine it. Luckily, my child has grown up and moved out, and knock on wood, he is, you know, making his own decisions with some of the things I've shown him and taught him. So I really understand what you guys are going through, though. If this had all happened to me when he would have been of an age that this could be something that I'm already worried about my grandkids and the world they're in with all the madness that schools are exposing them to. So I'm sorry. I don't want to start a rant, but you get the point. I understand this,
Yeah,
and
I know.
so
I
sorry
know.
you guys are going through it.
But literally, I mean, I can't stress this enough. I was literally on the stand with my arm in a cast, being asked about if 9/11 was an inside job, or if Bigfoot existed, or if I thought the Earth was flat.
Good
It's like, who
grief.
gives a fuck? I'm sorry, who gives a fuck?
Good
This man
grief.
assaulted me in front of my children. Hello?
Yeah.
It's freaking nuts. Oh my
it
god.
lends to
What questions did they
the
ask him?
strength. So, go on, Rob. Oh.
Sorry, Karen. What questions did they ask him when he was on the stand?
They asked him about all the times that he assaulted me and whether or not the things I said that happened really happened and that sort of thing. I mean, they did ask him stuff, but he did not spend as much time on the stand as I did. It's like they really tried to break down my mental state. Like they tried to make me look crazy. Now, fortunately, I'm able to verbalize things in a way that makes it clear that I'm not crazy, and I understand,
Hell
the,
yeah.
the form
Did
of.
you did
No,
you
they
walk
asked
away
if
a
the-
winner?
Oh yeah, I got custody of the children. I got
Good.
custody of the home. I got everything.
How did you
But-
feel the judge was looking at you when you were discussing the flat Earth and other things? Did you feel the judge was on your side a little bit, or
No, not really on my side or not on my side, but you could tell he was trying to be objective. But luckily, the judge that I got, my attorney told me, he was like, this guy really does not like um spousal abuse. Like,
So
men who-
Karen, was the flat Earth brought up against you on whilst you were in the dock, or whatever it's called in a custody? Was it mentioned as
Yeah,
one of the
Yeah,
So-
my ex-husband went on stand and he was up there being questioned first, and he literally says, "Well, she thinks the Earth is flat." Like
and then
that-
were you
and that
then
gave him reason?
And I
gave him-
remember looking at him and I was like, "You motherfucker."
So you
you
deserve
then-
to be beaten because you're a flat earther. Is that what he was trying to say?
Right, or not that I deserve to be beaten, but I don't deserve to get custody of the children. Like, he was trying to make it so that he got
He was
custody of
muddying the
children.
waters. He was
Yeah, so-
making you look like you were insane, etc. It's a
Right.
common tactic.
Trying
But
to make me look crazy.
how can this help people?
Can I just ask
You know,
a couple
like
of
Karen,
more questions
David.
on this point, John? Because there's a point.
I d-
wanna
I-
get to.
yeah, go for it.
Like, is that- So he mentioned it in the doc, Karen. Did then when you were in there, did his counsel mention the flat Earth?
Yeah,
And
then
then,
his
right, yeah.
attorney put me on the stand and she started asking me about it.
Okay. And was this one question or was it multiple questions?
No, like I said, I was on the stand for 3 hours, and most of that 3 hours was about flat
Your
Earth
worldview.
and everything else. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to make light of the
Whoa, whoa,
situation.
whoa, whoa, look, give me 30 more seconds. So, because there was a point to the question, and I wanted to clarify whether or not the opposing counsel used it, whether Karen's ex-spouse bothered to expound that as part of his rhetoric is kind of an irrelevant point in the court of law. You could say anything. The fact that the opposing counsel then felt that as an appropriate line of counting is the thing that really raises the strength of what David's doing in law. Because if you now suddenly categorize the line of questioning against Karen as if she was a Muslim, it becomes wholly inappropriate.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the
Adam.
time she spent there would have been reduced to whatever time, Karen. You tell me.
Spot on target. On that note, I may or may not be here.
He's off for a first time.
I just wanted to butt in there and
And he
ask.
goes
So
out
in
for
the
the first
in the
time.
3 hours, did you have to talk why the Earth was flat? So that's a long time, 3 hours. So did you have to explain maybe why you thought that?
A little bit. But see, here's the thing. So the way his attorney was wording stuff, the way she was asking me about it, I mean, clearly she's never looked into this stuff before. She didn't know anything about it. She didn't know how to word the questions properly. So I was able to answer them in such a way that it really made it not a big deal. Like, she and my ex-husband didn't give her the right information. He didn't tell her how to ask the right questions. Now, if the situation was reversed, and I was the one telling the attorney how to do it, the person on stand would have been screwed. But here's the thing. Okay, so she says to me, is it true that you think 9/11 didn't happen? Right? Not is 9/11 a bad job, not was 9/11 perpetrated by the US government, is it true that you think 9/11 didn't happen? And I said, well, of course it happened. Of course 9/11 happened. Yes, it did.
Define 9/11.
Right? I mean, she didn't know how to ask the right questions, and she said, is it true that you think that the Earth is flat? And I said, well, or they were asking me about being an FE Corps and all that stuff, and I said, yeah, it's an independent scientific research group. And she says, so is it true that you believe that the earth is flat? And I said, well, yes, that is part of my scientific research. Stuff like that. That's how I answered it.
Beautiful. I love it.
But David, this can help people like Karen in Karen's situation, surely, yeah?
Absolutely. I think so, John. And let me also say one other thing is that, you don't necessarily have to be a religious person to belong to this church, right? But the fact is, and I think this is pretty undeniable, and a lot of people acknowledge this, is that the flat Earth is supported heavily by Scripture, right? So, if somebody were really going to take it to task, on that basis, about whether or not the Bible supports it or anything like that, I think that we can make more than overwhelming case that it absolutely does. In fact, much more so than the ball Earth. I mean, look at the Robert Sungenis and Rob Skiba debate, for that, right? And the other thing is that I talked to Jaron, and Jaron says he thinks it's a great idea for you, Walt. So there you have it. Or not Walt, but John.
Right. Yeah, I need the Jaron seal of approval on the website.
Starting
Yeah.
at Nodell Security.
Nodell
IT
Security, there you go.
systems.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that was in reference to what, the Zoom Truth thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say that whoever designed the website on this obviously is not going to put provisions in it specifically to mine people's passwords, and that is what was going on with that website. And I don't think that's going to be happening here. And
I don't know how to do that.
yeah, and I can tell you, for certain that the Zoom Truth website was absolutely doing that. In fact, when I told Karen about it, I presented her with her password. I presented Paul on the plane with his password, and it was built right into the interface. You just clicked a button, it says, "Oh, here's the password," and I just thought that's really messed up. So that's why I had to say something about it. And I'm not saying that I wish Zoom Truth or anybody like that any ill will over it, but man, that was just not cool at all.
No, I mean,
the type of security that risks, and I touched base a little bit earlier on it, Bob, but the type of security, it's a whole different, there's two different levels. The anonymity of being a flat earther for people that want to keep that, and that site just had a complete security flaw that crossed over everything. And
Well,
I
the
wouldn't
bad
call
thing
it a
is
flaw
it
as
was
much as
designed.
it was
It was
designed that way.
intentionally designed that way. That's the problem I had with it. I mean, you don't make a mistake and design into the interface itself a button that you click in the profile.
And it shows somebody's password. Yeah.
that's news to me though, Bob. What that is that news? Have you talked about that on Globebusters or?
John, I didn't reveal that, the first time because I was trying to be cool about it. But honestly, Zoom Truth has come back and they've attacked Karen. Anybody that said anything against it, he came out with really vile videos, saying F you and all this stuff. And really, I mean, his behavior on it was just completely unacceptable. So no, I didn't call that out initially, but that is the fact. The website is designed to serve up to the administrators your password. That is a built-in design of Zoom Truth.
Right. That makes.
It's crazy. And
yeah.
It's wrong. It's just wrong, and I'm not going to shut up about it. I didn't want to put it out, but now that it's out, it's out.
No, I know what you mean. You get to a point where you don't want to ruin someone's life or anything. You just want to keep quiet, not keep quiet, but just say the bare minimum so as not to offend, etc., etc. And I've learnt the same lessons. It doesn't work that way. If you find a piece of shit, you need to put a big circle around it so no one else treads in it. But that is a major part of this website is okay. You don't have to be signed up to the website, and I think that's a great thing, David. I don't know if you can explain any more about that. You don't have to be signed up to the website to fall under the umbrella of the website's scope. Is that right?
I believe that to be true. I mean, imagine some person being fired from their job, and they're not a member, and they say to their lawyer before they even get to court, well, I'm starting to understand that this is my religion, and by the way, here's a website about that. These people think that. I mean, again, taking a kind of a naive standpoint there, it only it's going to, in America, and again, we can't really work on the overseas thing just yet, but we will. Yeah,
I think
it's just
that's
going to
simple, David. That one. You don't have to go to church to be a Christian. You don't
No,
have to be a member of a church to classify yourself as a
no.
Christian. So to classify yourself and to fall under the protective rights that you'll create, you don't even necessarily have to be a member of your church. What you're creating, I think, is if you can identify as a flat earther, well, however, it's a very nondescript description, but I think within that, the umbrella that you'll create will allow people to sit underneath it. It doesn't mean they have to have, bad analogies, the same umbrella as you. The umbrella you create means people don't have to have their own. They'll sit underneath that overreaching one, which is your church, and it'd be very hard to attack it. Anyone that sits underneath it who can identify as a flat earther, and as soon as you do that, you're then linked to any precedent that you'll create. So I don't think it's necessary, as John was saying. Actually, whilst it's beneficial to the church itself, actually it's not necessary for people to have to sign up to the church to fall under the hopeful legal precedents it will create.
That's the idea. Absolutely.
But
Right,
imagine if 1 billion people signed up to your website, and it was secured
Yeah, now you gotta
under,
be afraid.
and it was
then he wouldn't
secured.
have to work like a painter and decorating. You have to,
Well, imagine if it was secured under blockchain sort of technology, or any sort of end-to-end encryption technology, where that data there was no possibility of getting out, because you would be the custodian of the largest flat Earth database, where people live, phone numbers, email addresses, everything else. I mean, that's a huge responsibility to take on. So it's worth planning ahead, maybe.
and
Well, we'll
you'll
do what
need
we
a
can.
few.
Uh,
Go on, go
I
on.
don't think there's never going to be online security. You can be keystroked. It's just, it's like, we just got to go for it. I mean,
And just to clear up,
sorry.
no, I'm sorry. I saw someone asking in chat about Zoom, and there may be confusion about the app that are used for like calls and things like that. The app we're talking about was Zoom, ZoomTruth.com. It was like a people finder. Everybody was going to go be friends on the flat Earth. I remember when it came out
Hmm.
It's been a while now, but yeah, it definitely gave me
Talking
some
about-
qualms as well.
Talking about apps, well, I know that the young Jaron has put a lot of effort in to make sure Cammy can present the David Weiss's flat Earth maps. All right, so have we all done with? I'm not being rude, David, but finished tonight with regards to that, because I know we want to get.
Good
I know the title
segue.
was we were going to get a bit more moon in tonight.
We definitely want to get Mooney, and we also want to open up a bit for the other
Yeah.
folks that might want to hop in and say happy holidays or whatever's going to cross their minds here in a bit. So,
Well-
but yeah, David, keep us up with what's going on. Keep us up as things progress, especially when you get that lawyer that may or may not want to come on the show with you. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, I will keep you guys abreast of the progress, and thank you so much. And Karen, thanks for signing up. And I must say that your story is why I did this. I hadn't even heard the details yet, but thank
Yep.
you for
And
your
hey,
sharing.
David.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If you want Jaron to go over your website security with a fine tooth comb, he would be more than happy to.
That's fine. It's just there's nothing I can do about it. It's in the hands of GoDaddy, which is if they allow us to be harassed. Again, we're talking hate speech, not making fun of flat Earth people. So it changes everything.
Exactly. Well, GoDaddy hasn't exactly been the most reputable. You know, I honestly, in my business, I use GoDaddy a lot, but you guys are all familiar, I'm sure, with stoplookthink.com, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it just so happens that stoplookthink.com was starting to get a fairly substantial amount of traffic going to it. And because of that, right out of the blue, GoDaddy took it down, canceled the account, and forced David to move it elsewhere for no reason other than it was getting too much traffic and they didn't like it.
I saw that. I went to that site the other day and it said, "We'll be back soon dealing with the man."
Right? Yeah. But see, again, now this is the kind of stuff that, I mean, Stop Look Think wouldn't necessarily be covered under, well, it should be covered under First Amendment. Let's put it that way because of the free speech thing. But, you know, the whole thing about the freedom of religion and choosing to believe in a flat earth, that would stop GoDaddy or YouTube or anybody else for that matter from saying, well, this is ridiculous. These people are crazy. We've got to stop them. We've got to suppress their content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, there's, I'm sure, a lot of attorneys out there, like ACLU type attorneys, that would love to take a case setting precedent, right? Or make a case setting precedent in, you know, forcing this necessarily even to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, this is what I think, Bob. This is exactly
Yeah.
what I think. And I think anyone who
Exactly.
wants to host their website, they may want to look at the Icelandic rules because they have far better online rules than we have.
Yeah. So, you know, again, in that paradigm, they really can't say a whole lot. You know, now they may be able to classify, you know, what happened on 9/11 or Sandy Hook or anything like that, and anybody speaking up about it as hate speech, great. But this is a whole different animal, right? And honestly, that's really what I'm interested in is, you know, flat earthers take enough crap for everything as it is. We are told not to breed. I mean, we are told, you know, the most vile and disgusting insults ever. You know, you wouldn't believe the stuff I get in my comments section. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Drink bleach, you dirty peasant.
And these are all made by you know, mainstream opposition sources, right? And I think that, you know, it's about damn time that we had something that we can use within the system to stop this. Because
well, that's the thing with this, Bob, isn't it? This is if you look at Riley's work with regards to what he did in terms of the educational system, that was really attacking the system and trying to get a chink in the system's armor. This is really about arming the people. So it's kind of the complete opposite for me. It's a very different legal argument. It, in a way, in Karen's case, exemplifies it to the extreme. But it shows how what's happening at the moment is our beliefs are being unfairly used against us, portrayed as mental weakness or the likes, whereas the reality is, at worst, it is a religious belief, but certainly what David's work is doing is highlighting that actually from a legal standpoint, it's nothing more than prejudice. And if your work continues, man, and I wish you all the best with it. And like I said, if there's anything any of us can do, I think you've heard us tonight, let us know, because as Bob jumped on the wagon early. He recognized it early, and I do think it has real significance. And I think once we can get to any form of legal case, as I mentioned earlier, Zen Garcias. Once you've got those things in there, even at low level, whilst they may not set the presence of the Supreme Courts, as you guys would call it, they're there, and they raise points for judges to consider. And these things will start in the lower cases, and we hopefully in a year or two we may get to a Supreme Court thing where actually it becomes considered at the highest level. But as we've started early on, we've not lost the first case, guys, have we? So this thing, we know we're going to win. We've got truth on our side, haven't we? You know, that's the reality, the fact. And more importantly, from their point of view, we've got science. And when we get to the legal definition of science, it will destroy their pseudoscience, as David quite rightly points out in his abstract.
I'm with you, Meekin.
Yep,
I
well
totally
said.
agree.
Well said.
Guys,
I
thank
think
you.
we should.
I'm desperate to move this on. So there's one bit I
Okay.
do want to maybe finish with, and I want to give a shout out to Arwin with this, because David, respect. You know, I scrolled back in my
Thank you.
timeline, and Arwin is miles ahead of you. It's something I want to give you. Maybe you'll use it, maybe you won't. I don't know. But Arwin wrote this prayer for the flat Earth a long time ago. So if you'll indulge me, I'll just read it now.
Please.
Radius Spiritus, Gravitas Dominus. May the non-force force be with you. In all we trust, Arwin.
Amen. Beautiful.
I love it.
Well, hey, folks, again, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank
I'll
you.
step out now, but let me leave you with one thought. A couple folks asked, what can we do? Well, let's make this our next thing. Let's assemble all the stories of the people, whether they put their name in there or not, and we'll make this website a repository for all the folks that have lost jobs, lost, for God forbid, children. And so send them to me. My email's on there. It's info@churchoftheflatearth.com, and I'll start assembling them. And I think that's what we should do. Karen, I don't know if it's a possibility, but I think that transcript of yours would make some interesting reading if you're willing to share it, or
Yeah,
maybe under an anonymous.
I actually don't have a copy of the court transcript, but I have been wanting to try to contact the court and see if I can get a copy of the transcript, because I do think it's important to talk about, for sure.
Sure, you'd make a novel out of that. It is your right to have your transcript. So, yeah, were you on good terms with your attorney? Were they strong in your case?
Oh yeah, he's still my attorney. And he told me, he was
And-
like, it doesn't matter what you believe. He's like, I don't care what you believe. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, good man. Good start already. So yeah, see what you can do there. And anyone else who has a story, Bob, if you wouldn't mind committing yours to words at some point, I think it'd be strong for us. The more we have strength in numbers, it's not, it was just me and Angel. We felt okay, but now that we got 40 people behind us, we feel a little better about it. And so thank you again for the opportunity to share this. And thank you for your
Thank you,
great
David.
support.
Thank you so
All right.
much. And it should be 41 now. I had tried to sign up yesterday and never, like I said, I didn't see the email. Got busy for the show prep. And then I went and looked today, and it had filtered over to my important folder without me doing it. Don't know why that happened. So apparently it was important and got to the right place. I just didn't know where it was. So I'm in there now.
So, sorry,
fantastic.
guys. David, I've got bad news.
No.
You've started a church, but unfortunately, the doctrinal argument has already begun. So if I can correct from Head Bishop Arwin in chat, Radius Spiritus, Gravitas Dominus, may the force that is not actually a force, but you can and must think of as a force be with you. In all we trust, Arwin. I'm sorry about that, guys, and apologies.
Oh, if I only had the song on a board to play right now.
That's so funny.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Honey, I don't know if you've been reading, but you made local hero in the chat when I wrote in about the fact that the Jehovah Witnesses no longer come to our house anymore. My husband invited them in and flat smacked them time and time
That
again,
is
and
awesome. I did the same thing here in my little bitty town twice, at our front door and our back door. At both times, I said, "Yeah, come on in. I want to
Come
talk
on
to you
in.
about these things." And dude, they have not come back since. So it works. It is
Yes, it does. They don't come around here no more.
Bob, I had the same tip, mate. I did the same job. One piece of advice for any listener: when they first want to go, no, now's your time, right? Don't let them go. I said, no, Marie, make them a cup of tea, yeah. And we had another cup of tea, and because it hurts, because they're so deep into the literal meaning of the Bible. It's a hard one to chew, and I've loved they don't come to my house anymore, Bob, but the shop, the Jehovah's Witnesses, have always have a couple of groups. They've stopped. I think they look in now, to be fair, to make sure I'm not working, but they make sure they drop the Watchtower magazine in bi-monthly. So I still get that. So I still know I'm doomed to eternal death, burning hellfire. But you know, we don't get the conversation anymore.
That's awesome, Adam. I love it.
I had the same at my door. They came, they tried to convert, they asked, I said everything is love, and they said, well, you obviously know more about this than we do, and they walked off. Strange people. Never mind. David.
Hey again, everyone. I want to say thanks. Yeah, it's been splendid, and we'll hope to do it again as things develop further here.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I think you're
Look,
on.
mate.
I think you're onto something, David. I really do, and I support you absolutely.
Yep, you got my support, David, for sure. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, hey, we'll check in again soon. We'll look forward to it. Good night.
All right.
Right.
Cheers.
God bless, mate.
Night,
Mate,
David.
feel free to stick around if you want to have a little look at Cammie's moon stuff. Are you ready, Cammie?
Oh, I'm just walking back in the office now, so let's get ourselves ready for this.
No
Hold
worries.
on.
Okay, and guys, I'm going to continue this offline. I'll be listening in, and
Thank you, Bob.
if I have anything earth-shattering, I'll jump back in. Okay.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Bob, just be respectful in the chat, please, mate. That's all I
I'll try to.
ask. Cheers, Bob.
Take it easy, Bob. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, everyone. Good night.
Night, David.
Take care, David.
I'll listen in, but I'm going to go. Okay. Bye-bye.
That's true. He's on a phone. He can't see the presentation. Go watch us on YouTube. Thank you, Dave, so much, and we'll stay in touch. You stay in touch.
Will do, sir. Thanks again for the opportunity. Good night.
And happy Christmas, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
Welcome, Dave. I reckon
All right.
this is a good. Who's jingling the bells?
It's
Christmas.
I reckon we should cut the feed and start a new one.
I ain't got time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
lose
get it.
we lose things when we try that. Remember, the dust doesn't have time to settle between shows, and it has caused us to lose shows, complete shows. We don't need to.
Let's try and get a few people.
We
I
could
don't
do
know
a
how long
music-
Cammie's
A
gonna chat
music
for.
coffee break real quick. A little
And
music.
on that note, I better go, guys. It's been a great show.
Thank you,
Rob.
Rob.
Yep.
Rob, send
Yeah,
your
that was
Christmas
fun, Rob.
greetings then, mate. Come on.
On that note, Rob,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Everyone
yep,
have
yep,
a Merry
yep, yep.
Christmas. Yes. John, yes.
Hey, Rob, you have a good one, pal. It's been a funny old year, and I tell you what, mate, it's great to have you back, bud.
It is
Really
indeed,
is.
my friend. Stay in touch.
Things are starting to look up in life, so
Yeah.
I'm starting to get
That's
a bit of a
it.
smile on my face.
I might pretend I
Don't
don't
hang
love
out
you,
with this
but I
lot,
do,
dude.
you ugly cunt.
Rob,
Happy Christmas, bro.
you have a great New
See
Year.
yous. Yep.
Same to
All right,
you,
man.
Cammy,
Take care, Rob.
Zach,
Take care, Rob.
Karen,
thanks,
Adam, Walt, me.
Are you going again, Savage?
Yeah, oh God.
You know,
This is
you
your
lasted
second time
about 3
down.
seconds last time you
Second
left.
time down. When he comes up with 3 fingers, we'll know it's real.
Well, no one wants to hear about me going to court or kicking ass in court, so I'm just gonna do a
Well,
runner.
no, do it now while
Nope.
Cammie's just getting her presentation set.
Nope.
So
You
quick,
got to
come
at
on.
No,
least
no, no.
read read the reply that you got. 'Cause that was great.
That's not in front of me. I can't see it, but it
Give a
involved.
little forward story, just a little one.
I was being sued by some guy who's an idiot, and I
Over the bloody plumbing. The plumbing we've all heard about, let's be honest.
all the
The
plumbing,
initial install.
all the plumbing. So I
You've
gave
been messing
him.
about with plumbing?
Don't-
Yeah, I
don't-
know.
don't-
Weird, isn't it?
Don't go into detail, Walt.
Anyway, like I said, no one wants to hear it, so I will see you next week.
Oh, honey, I want to hear it.
Too
You
late.
can't leave it hanging
You
there.
can't leave it
Nah, it's
hanging like that.
awful,
We
isn't
do
it?
want to. We do want to hear.
Okay, I'll take over a little bit. The guy messed up. John had to call in someone else to actually do the job, and it cost more because the guy had messed up so bad. So the guy was trying to sue John for the payment. Well, John sent him a counterclaim saying, "Hey, this is how much I had to pay to fix your mess. So you owe me this much money." And this is the reply that John got. Do you have it, John?
Q savage.
Oh,
Q
sorry.
savage.
Yeah. I've got it memorized. If that helps.
Yeah.
Where did I put it? Did I put it in the Twitter? I don't know. It would have made Eddie Murphy blush, basically, but it ended with checking the post. So that's
Well,
good
yeah,
enough
'cause
for
you
me.
there was something about the C word in there, and then something about "I hope it kills you, you dirty peasants," or something like that. I mean, it was not a nice note at all.
It was the dirty peasant that's been making Zach laugh. You dirty peasant.
It said.
We
It
don't
said.
get that over here. People don't say that over here in the U.S.
Well, yeah, it's not very nice, really. But I don't care. It ended with checking the post. So,
Right,
but
here you
it
go, I've got
started
it, I've got it,
with
Zach. I've got it. I can't. What accent are we doing this in? Savage?
maybe southwestern American accent.
Southwest American. What the shit does that mean?
Mexican,
Mexican.
obviously.
Mexican
What
accent.
does that mean?
Okay. I cannot be bothered to deal with these cons. You like you. I hope it kill you, dirty peasant. Check in the post. Arriba, ándale.
That sounded Italian to me. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's the best
It was
thing I ever
close, though.
get.
It was close.
Can you do it again?
Oh, sí, señorita. See, I can't be bothered to deal with you cunts like you. I hope it kill you, dirty peasant. Check in the post.
This sounds like Speedy Gonzalez.
I'm doing my best to sound like Jose JG.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Jose JG Gonzalez.
So basically, I started the week with court papers, and I've ended the week with checks in the post. I don't know. Great, sounds good to me. I'll take it. I don't mind being a dirty peasant.
Cunt.
C word.
No. I can't.
Suits me. Anyway, on that note, I've really got to bugger off because I'm
That's three.
getting a bit squiffy now.
Will you get me a drink, John?
Squiffy, a new word I love.
I've
Sweet,
heard of
sweet dreams.
Swifty. Getting swifty.
It's almost like
I've heard of-
Swifty with it, right? We're getting squiffy with it here.
Squiff.
I can't spell it though, so unfortunately.
SQUIFF. Squiffy.
No, let's get crazy with it.
Squiff.
I had far too many vaccines as a kid.
If you get to do the spelling, start it with like PXY. One of those crazy words where all like the first four letters are like they're all silent.
Oh, yeah, squiffy really is a word, and it means slightly drunk. He's squiffy from the rum.
There you go. See? I'm not squiffy at all, you see, because I can actually properly quote the word squiffy. If that makes
is
any sense.
hysterical. You did it really in good context in that too. But yeah, even if you're not squiffy,
I'd just
squiffy
make
is a
you a
great
liar.
word. Yeah.
I'm not a pheasant plucker. I'm a pheasant plucker son. I'm only plucking pheasants till the pheasant plucker comes. It's
Okay,
that
so you're
simple,
all
you
right.
see.
Yeah,
If
you're
I,
all right then, mate.
there you go.
Wow.
Put that in front of any judge
Impressive.
in the country, I am perfectly good to get in the car and drive off. Not.
I'd let you
Drive
drive me
where?
home after that. Fuck.
Hey, before you get off, maybe y'all can help me with some Brit speak. I know that like in years and years ago, I had a term, again, reading a lot in the books and that I never heard pronounced. But is it argy-bargy or argy-bargy that's like a heated argument as
The latter.
the latter?
Archie-bargy.
Argy-bargy. I'm sorry, it just popped into my mind, but those were one of those words that I always like you reading. Is that argy-bargy or argy-bargy?
Don't start a bit of
or
argy-bargy now,
argy-bargy.
Cammy. We're not having it. No need for it, is there?
Hey,
Don't
hey,
need
hey.
no argy-bargy round
Hey,
here.
I want to argy.
I believe QE has a message for you in chat there, Adam.
What's he saying?
Good stuff.
Some kind of like
Yeah.
argy-bargy going on.
A little bit in there, little bit. Exactly. You got it now, though, Cammy.
I think he might be a little bit
Argy-bargy.
swift. Yeah, I
Cammy,
think he's a little bit
argy-bargy.
swift. Argy-bargy, is that what?
Argy-bargy.
Argy-bargy?
Argy-bargy.
Yeah, get out of here.
So do you think Quantum Eraser is squiffed right now? Is he squiffy?
He is apparently squiffy. If
You're squiffy, John.
get squiffy.
I know
place
when
to be
to
for the
leave.
show. Most
Is
of us
all I can
Okay, so
say.
music break, coffee, and then Cammy. Is that the plan? Trying to move things on a bit.
We could do moon phases. We could do questions and answers from the chat. We could do happy holidays. We could end the show now and say party on Friday night. What does everybody
Wow,
want to do?
Cammy wants to party, dudes, and
This
be
guy.
excellent.
Call-ins. Always.
Let's go at Karen's.
Call-ins. Call-ins. You
Call-
need
I'm all
call-ins.
about the dri- Okay, so links
I
are
would
going out.
love Collins.
Links are going out. Then Cammy's calling it. She's calling it audible.
Call-ins.
Right,
And
if
on
you're
that
doing
note,
that, then if you're doing that, right, and John's going to go to sleep, I'm
All
going
right.
to go and make a whiskey sour, because I've been pondering for a little bit. But if we're doing that, I'm staying up a little bit.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
I'll
I'm
go on
about to-
mute. I'm going to come back with a whiskey sour, and then I will get squiffy.
Okay, so there's no music break. We're just going to calls.
Are we doing that or are we doing
links.
music and then to calls? Because I was
I'll
gonna
do. I'll
What's
do the
this-
music then. I'll
Okay.
do the music. So we have a bit of gravity.
I have a
no, screw the
question.
music. Just put
have
the
a-
bloody number out there.
You're going to bed. You don't count.
You're-
Yeah, I
are
know,
you
but
gonna-
I might
no,
come
he's
Are
back.
you
saying
gonna
that.
You
handle
know.
the calls while we all go
we're
get
argy-bargy in it right now.
Give
coffee?
it, Cammy.
Hey, I have a question.
Those who
Sean
need a leak,
Savage, Adam.
go for a leak.
Okay, ready? Before the leak, I need to know before I visit the garage for a second. What is the correct? Is getting squiffy is a little drunk. What would be the word for getting a little stoned? If it's not squiffy. Oh no, we need slightly
We
drunk.
need some
Slightly
better
drunk
slang
is
than that.
Battered.
squiffy.
Battered. Oh, I'm totally battered, man.
Bad.
No,
Nice.
no.
battered.
No, we need
Battered.
like old school.
Battered. I'm
Something
all
from
battered.
like the 1930s. or
Yeah, I'm
40s.
properly battered. I'm properly
Big
caned. I'm
TT,
caned.
BRED,
There you
Beethoven.
go. There's one.
Isn't that taking care
Battered.
ahead?
I like it. It's almost like getting fried, deep fried,
Taking care of
battered
head.
up and fried.
Taking
Yeah.
care ahead.
Karen, I'm
Take
wishing-
care of head.
Right?
Mashed. Oh, mashed.
Oh, mashed. I like mashed.
Yeah, properly mashed, man.
I'm going to take 5 minutes and get mashed and be ready for the call-ins.
Okay.
If you all mute up, then
I
I'll
really
drop,
like squiffy.
I'll drop us a bit of gravity. Right, but it may well run out because it takes me a bit longer than 3 minutes 50.
You might want to give the
I
number
will
out.
be back in time. Do you not worry,
You're
sir.
the
Oh,
gentleman.
nice. All
You
right,
m-
going on mute
You might
Okay,
want to
guys.
give the number out.
for a good time call.
Any
gone.
calls, any numbers.
gone. I know Walt's posted it in a load of chat rooms. Cammy, pimp that number out.
You want me to give Bob's phone number?
Yeah, that'll do. No, if anyone wants to any of us wants to stick the Zoom link out there, and if there's anybody in chat that wants the Zoom link, get in touch with us. We're not going to stick it in the chat. People just to click, but you know who we are. Give us a shout, and we'll send you the link if you want to come in and
Oh, you mean the inner circle?
Well, not inner, outer.
You mean not just anyone can join in? It's got to be.
Well, like, if like Fight the Flat Earth came in chat and said, "Here's my email, will you send me an invite?" I'd probably say, "Fuck off, you fat bloater." Right? But
You can
if
hang
some
up,
random that
can't
we've
you?
seen in chat, there's not spanned up, but actually we know wants an invite, then of course send us a thing and we'll get you in touch. Cold Still Truth, Adam is battered. Yeah.
Listen, I
We're
don't have
all
any problem
battered.
with them coming on our channels. I just refuse to go on their channels.
Fair enough. Well, as long as we've got the power to shut them up, if there are
That's what I'm
assholes.
saying. And they put us on their channels and they get thousands of views and they exploit us. So they can kiss my ass with that shit. If they want to debate me, they want to talk to me, you come to my house.
Hell yeah. I'm with you.
Are you even
Well-
bothered about talking to him, Karen? That honestly,
And don't worry about me, because I'm not even going to be here.
you keep saying it's savage, but you know.
No, it's getting very close to the sozzle stage.
Well, yeah, but stay sozzled. It's Christmas. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to just kick us in, just a little bit of gravity. Yeah.
Hey, Walt, I shared this link and it still has the Bible is not a flat earth book thumbnail.
See, that's what we had. There's something going on with YouTube's crap because I asked
Did
the
you
same
change
question
it?
when it was shared in our chat on Twitter. It had that, but here on YouTube it's showing the new. And when like Travis came in, he saw all the information from last week when he was on the show, which I had definitely changed. So yeah, it's just playing slow to catch up, I guess. I don't know.
If you click the link, Karen, you saw the picture of the moon that promised we were going to talk about. In fact, Cammy was going to finish the
That
moon
we're never
stuff.
going to actually talk
So we didn't
about.
quite get there, but that's only Iron Realm. It's,
Now, y'all
I
walking
appreciate you
down to
looking
the
out for the
garage.
production, though. Thank you for looking out on our behalf. It's just it's been acting wonky for damn sure today.
Oh, yeah, you're right. On the channel, it has the moon. But when I share the link, it has the old. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Can I suggest we don't shoehorn Cammy stuff into the last 4.5 hours of Iron Realm, and
no, we've abandoned that.
okay, and
She called an audible, I believe.
Cammy called it.
Still
She
on?
said we're just getting people in. It's
It's
Christmas.
on her. She's getting squiffy or something.
I'm getting squiffy. I'm out in the garage getting squiffy.
Yeah, see,
Garage squiffy, no doubt.
garage.
Gar-
It's not
garage
garage.
squiffy.
That's
I've
like
given-
that's like
In a
Nigel Farage.
garage by the motorway.
Right.
The sound of squiff.
Papa to a ball on a Christmas day.
Well, that's
in the
high.
real time.
Look at Walt.
Okay,
That's pretty soulful there, Walt.
kill
I
it with
love that
fire
song.
time.
I can't
You
get,
should hear me doing it.
I can't
Karaoke.
get that high.
It's definitely
I
kill it
got
with
that
fire
high
time.
once, Zach, and that was only in Rome. And it was only half a note.
No, I tried one time and it felt like my Adam's apple was splitting in half, and I've never tried to sing that high ever again.
Have we got that video,
Hurt so
Adam?
bad.
No, we don't play that anymore. It's banned.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I had one of my mates come round tonight. I've not, you know, one of the old school friends I've known since I was 7, and we still try and stay in touch once or twice a year. I says, "Did you see me get kidnapped?" No, and everybody's completely. Are you suing them? Are you you know what I mean? It's kind of a surreal thing, mate. It's funny, isn't it? Really, more than anything. Something for my kids to tease me with. Right, come on. Right, I need a drink.
Well, I'm about
So-
to play it, so don't you
No
worry.
bollocks, I'm
No,
about to put gravity on.
don't be
We want a
silly.
music break, not Adam getting broke.
No,
do
no,
we?
no. This is your ballbuster
Oh well, then you better
fame.
screen share because
I'm trying to. Someone's sharing.
Gravity.
Who's
Right, all
sharing?
right, watch me get humiliated, and then we'll put gravity on. How's that?
I still can't share.
Oh, what a shame. Let's try now. Go on, go on.
Share. Oh, there we go. Now, where are we? No, that's the wrong one.
No, that's tonight.
Share. Where are you? with your balls. There you are. Can you see that?
There we go.
Get a bit of a close up.
Go on, you've got full screen.
Give it a bit of
How long
sound.
is this going to last?
I don't
Have
know.
got
I
time to
bet
make
you
a
can't
whiskey
hear it.
sour?
I bet you can't hear it. Can you hear that?
Bad. No, you got Zach's telling subtitles.
Can you hear that?
No.
That's where Adam was like, no, I'm out of here.
I was like, oh, well, what do you want me to do? If I can't give you my passport and take my passport,
Doof, straight
you're
down.
talking nonsense, pal, ain't you? I'll go and get my shit and go. Oh, no, you won't. That's the funniest bit. I was telling him, mate. So see there, look. See where my leg comes up? That's Dave. So you're not fucking having him. So Dave, you can't take my leg with you. Oh, it's good. It was a weird time, mate, but I'll tell you what.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I still smile. Look, there you go. Look.
I'll tell you what, though, Adam. In highlights of 2019, I think you're a candidate for
I think you might be off.
Daft Cunt of the Year.
Absolutely, sir. This is for 2019 flat lights. This is definitely one of them.
what did we used to have with Patricia Steer with the Flatty Awards?
So I'll admit here, look, I'm surprised that my European rights are infringed at the end of this, because I wasn't aggressive, I wasn't rude, but I was a little bit.
Say oi, mate. I understand what you're talking
simple.
about.
Actually, you know, outside of it, I was asking for a level of simple human discourse, which is to identify yourself as a human being, whoever you are saying that. And Nora's took a bit of stick, and I want to address that as well, actually, whilst we're here. You know, she
Go
did
on
her
then.
best. She didn't, there was nothing I heard. I'm not great at speaking Italian, but I can vaguely understand, and there wasn't a great deal.
Oh, it
outside
comes
of
to
what
nuts.
I said, and there certainly wasn't a change.
Oof, straight in the nuts. Sorry.
The intonation, yeah. Oof, you fucker. That hurts. Make it full screen, John. Show the pain. Yeah, I just want to address that. She's took a bit of stick, but you know, I'm big enough and ugly enough to. It was my actions that elicited the illegal response. It wasn't anything to do with Nora. Yeah, look at the twat. Look at him, man. Little ears. Kojak. Come on, Kojak. Have a bang. Go on, son. What a big man. Well done.
Well, let's be honest. In Italy, they're still kind of old school. They weren't going to grab Nora.
That was...
They just weren't. Straight up. I've been there. I know. They weren't going to grab her.
Oh, no.
I'm not saying that what she did got you in trouble. You know, I wasn't there. I'm not saying that. But the Italian dudes, they weren't going to grab Nora. They were looking for a dude.
Oh yeah, they were close, I think, to slapping Dave Mannon there, because for the previous 5 minutes, while you see me just after I finished packing up, he's got the megaphone out and he's giving it hard, because we know we're going, so he's thinking, just la terra è piatta. The earth is flat, my friends. The earth is flat. La terra è piatta. And you could see how Kojak there, he was getting well irate. Because
You got to show Adam's return.
Which law was broken? No.
that was the best bit, honestly. You know, meeting Andrea, coming back and shit it. And I walked around the Colosseum. There was nobody there, and I know they'd be out looking for her. I'm thinking, like, where will they go? So I was driving with Jack on the way in, and there was quite a big road, and we'd noted a couple of parking spots in case we need to go back. So I'd figured out the road that probably Jack had parked on.
Which would be something.
So I'm wandering around, and I saw that bloody van, and I saw Andrea first, and then I had a huge one bigger than this. Somebody grabbed me. Andrea was on the turbo. I'd planned at this point to go down and see them, because I could see them on YouTube looking for me and stuff, and it was really surreal seeing all the response from people on YouTube and the likes, and It was like, well, can't sit here waiting, can we? Let's go and meet up and show people that we're back together. So, but the burst of emotion was genuine. It was, yeah. I don't often put my arms out like that. That's rather extravagant for me. It was quite an elated feeling. It was very weird. Very
Was that your Mick Jagger impression?
Oh no, baby, I can strut more than that. I stick my ass out, put up my lips.
Oh,
Me too.
No, but it was
but here he is, the one and that first. No.
really surreal at times. You know, like, and I think back to being in the police station. It's like it weren't happening to me. I kind of sat there, Jack, and just played with me. I've got a little set of beads on my wrist, and they left me for so long. So I just sat there, you know, kind of not meditating, but just kind of just sitting there trying to stay chilled, thinking, what the fudge is going off here? It's only Italy. It's not fucking Iraq or anywhere. You know what I mean? It was a clear violation. And I just sat there thinking, should I kick off? And I'm thinking, no, you've already had a punch in the nuts. We're probably better off. You're not going to win any argument here. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I think you handled it well.
And you can't
Why
stop
not?
us telling you.
Putting up a big fuss. You know, once it got a little escalated, you're just like, okay, I'll go. Whatever. Get this over with.
the fuss is, do I kick at one now, Zach, to be honest? And genuinely, I've not got the desire to do so. Like I say, there was so much. That was one. Well, between getting kicked in the nuts, bumped off, it's 2 and a bit hours, isn't it? You know what I mean? 3 hours between those events on a week of real highs. I'd say even in that period, they're not all lows. So I've got no desire to go and what would I gain? Get some Italian meathead a reprimand, and for all the effort of what, you know what I mean? People can see what it is clear. He doesn't need to. I don't need to, you know, pursue it. It's. I've not got any malice against the man. Do you know what I mean? He's clearly got his issues, hasn't he?
Would be something to be proud of.
Yeah, a good part of the past is the way I look at that. Particularly that, you know what I mean? Great days. Great days, great people. And I think we
Can't
achieved
stop us
something
telling
that,
you.
know, that aside, which is a distraction. It was a really good thing achieved for all of us. And it was all of us that achieved it. Because without the community, yeah, it wouldn't have got round. And I think we all should, everywhere, those that contributed, just give yourselves a pat on the back, because it's a great step what we did. And maybe in years to come, it'll be looked back on as quite momentous. And I think genuinely it was. So I'll stop gushing. Can we have a bit of gravity now? And I can get a drink.
If you would, that would be awesome.
I'm only the translator.
Stop sharing, Savage. Oh. In fact, I can stop you. Look at that. I have
You
the
can't make him
power.
go to bed though.
I don't want him to go to bed. Tim that wants to go to bed. Oh, he's pretending he wants to go to bed, Karen. Isn't he? Right. Right. Let me get a bit of sherry, on. Well,
You can lead a flat earther to bed, but you can't make them sleep.
no.
Sir,
He's got diesel heating in his van. He should be happy. He'd be warm. Right. Well, if everyone
Yes,
mutes
sir.
up, I can smack that button and we can just have a little bit of gravity.
let's do it, man. I am ready. Do not go anywhere. And all of you Iron Scouts who are quickly flagging due to the late hour, don't leave. The link is headed your way right now.
Okay, guys. A little bit of Christmas gravity.
We're up pretty high, our heads are